watch me educate. Yeah, we been could've started, but it's never late. Do it for my kids, yeah, let's set it straight. Do it for your kids, gotta set it straight. It's time to regulate. We need change now. We need solo, we need...
Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. Today I've got somebody been trying to get together with for a while, Dr. Emily Letran. Thank you for coming out to the studio.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, Emily, how was your flight in?
It was a good flight. It was a short flight. I think it's more the anticipation driving to your house.
Right.
It's obviously it's a little bit of
It is a heck of it's a slog.
it's a little different.
It's way out here, but it's nice and quiet and peaceful, which is how I like it.
Yes.
So you're coming down during. I was expecting you to be really late because, you know, right now with the shutdown, they're having air traffic controller issues, and you know, hopefully your experience there wasn't too bad.
Not at the airport, no. I think probably flying out, because that's the talk, is the TSA line will be very, very long.
Yeah. Well, so we're going to talk a little bit about what it is you do. And you do several different things. You're an author, you're a coach, consultant. Talk to us a little bit about what you do, and then we're going to get into who you are and how you got here, what your journey looked like.
Well, I'm going to add one more title: Best Mom in the World.
Oh, well, all right.
Always have that title. Well, I'm a dentist, graduated UCLA 1993, and originally came from Vietnam, got here as a refugee, overcame challenges. And when I got out of dental school, one of the things, as you know, and everybody know, that dental school doesn't teach us business.
No, it does not.
So I was watching VHS tapes and reading books. And one of the things I learned from Dr. Woody Oakes, who founded the Profitable Dentist, is if you want to grow fast, buy another office. So that was kind of my path of growth.
Right.
Buying the second one, buying the third one. Got some growing pains because you're not quite used to all of a sudden.
Right.
You got a lot of responsibilities. And about 10 years ago, it's just, things just happened where the path that was pointed out to me is doing coaching.
Right.
So a coach is somebody who asks questions to get the client to figure out the answers themselves. So it's a little different than a consultant, and I love that ideas. And so I started doing coaching. I wrote my first book, and then I was advised that I need to speak so more people know about my book.
They keep trying to drag me kicking and screaming into that. And I'm
so,
not a fan.
I became a speaker, and I must say that a lot of the opportunities that have come to me have come because I'm a speaker. But you don't really hear me introducing myself as a speaker. And so that's what I do now. I do speaking, consulting, coaching, get involved in some luxury real estate investment, got involved in entertainment. Again, things just happen. I was invited in as an investor and on the board of advisor for a Vietnamese movie. And then from that one, got connected to the Los Angeles Tribune. And now I'm in media. I'm doing journals and et cetera, et cetera. But it's funny because all of that came because people knew I'm a speaker.
Well, if you are ever in the area and you need somewhere to film something, you know where it is now.
I know. I was thinking about that. Yes.
It's what we've built here. It's different than anything you'll find anywhere around. The closest thing similar to this is in Dallas. So we're really hoping to help other creatives to have an outlet there. As you probably know, since you've known me for a while here, I'm just passionate about helping people. And so, but I really want to take a step back. You've gotten to this point in your life, and you're coaching and you're writing and you're getting into the media stuff, and World's Greatest Mom as well, of course. We can't forget that.
Yes, best mom.
But you mentioned that you came here as a refugee. Talk to us a little bit about life whenever you were growing up, because I think in the United States, we laid a very interesting dichotomy we have all the information in the world at our fingertips. It's not like anything's really censored. I mean, some of it is censored, but
Right.
we have such a limited worldview because we've got, first world problems. You didn't get the right kind of sneakers for your birthday rather than, hey, I didn't get to eat for 3 days.
Right.
So
Right.
talk to me a little bit about growing up in Vietnam and what it was that sparked you coming to the States, if you came with your parents or what have you.
Well, I was actually born in 1968, which is during the Vietnam War. And I was lucky. The family lived in Saigon, which is sort of a capital of Vietnam, of South Vietnam at that time. And of course, the war is ongoing, but we didn't really experience the war in Saigon per se.
Right.
And but in 1975, April 30th, 1975, is when the war ended. I do remember that last day where the sky was red and a lot of sound of bombings and because they were invading.
Right.
Of course, the last stop. And the next day, life changed. The communists took over, and things are done very differently. It's if anybody read the book 1984,
Mm-hmm.
I remember coming to the U.S. and reading that book. And the teacher, I was in 10th grade, the teacher kept saying, "You guys are so lucky. You're reading 1984 in 1984. And I'm reading the book and I'm thinking, no, this sounds like life at home.
Right.
But of course, I didn't realize that book was written in the 60s, right?
Mhm.
Earlier, where they envisioned that life. And that was the life with Big Brother watching you. Now, as a kid, I was 12. It's not like I was aware of that. A lot of what I realized came when I came here,
Right.
because I could look back and say, "Hey, we
Well, you
did
had
this, we did
something to
this."
compare to then.
Yes, yeah, there's nothing to compare to. There was a lot of control. For example, even when you want to buy something is ration, right? People go to the store by the government, have a little notebook, and they write down how much they sell to you. So as a kid, I went to the store with one of those, and whatever they sell, that's what you buy. And a couple years after that, so 1 year after the communists took over, my mom passed away. And we live in an extended family. We have a 4-story home, so 3 families there. Each family take 1 floor.
Mm-hmm.
And my aunt, Dad's youngest sister, was falsely imprisoned. She was a pharmacist. And so when they let her out, she decided that she won't live there anymore and that she's going to escape. So this is 1981. Vietnam again was going to go to war with China in the north and Cambodia in the east. So Cambodia, that's the Pol Pot, the killing fields. And then the war up north in Vietnam. I mean, for thousands of years, China always wanted to take over Vietnam.
Right.
Because Vietnam has a strategic location. So my aunt decided that she's going to leave. And all the young guys are going to be drafted again, like the war ended in 1975, 1978. They start drafting people again. So she was going to take her 2 kids, my older brother, and 2 other of my cousins. And the guys are all leaving because of the impending draft. And I'm a girl. I wasn't supposed, nothing's going to happen to me. But my dad told me, I need to go help my aunt. Like, you're the oldest girl in the family. You need to go. So we escaped. So back in the days, if you know the story, let's just say the Mexican border where people get smuggled through the border. This is the same thing. You get smuggled out in the water until you get into international water. Then technically you're safe.
And sometimes, if I'm not mistaken, over the border through Cambodia and
Yes.
out as well.
So there are people walking, going to Thailand, and then if you're in the south, you take the boat out, you could end up in the Philippines, in Malaysia, Indonesia. If you're in central Vietnam or North Vietnam, you end up in Hong Kong, whatever the closest. And then once you're there, there was such a mass of people leaving that the United Nations decided to create the UNHCR, which is the organization that helped refugees. And all of these countries took people in. They got the money from United Nations, and so they took us in, and we were given food and Every day you get 1 bucket of fresh water for drinking. We end up in the. I was in a Malaysian refugee camp called Pulau Bidang.
Was this a good change or a bad change from with the rationing? Was the rationing that severe, or was this like kind of a step down in this journey?
For a kid, it was a step down because you were at home, you have a house, you have your dad, your family.
Now there's nothing that's solid.
Now there's nothing. You're in a I guess we call it a long house, which is like a little. There's a house at another story, and there are 10 of us there. On the loft, you just sleep on the floor, and they give you the ration, and your main job is to learn English. So you learn a little bit of English, and that's it. So I think the step down is because you don't have all of the amenities. Every day, I think we have electricity for about 3 hours. It'll get turned on when when the sun set, and then it's on for about 3 hours. But then there's no, you can't really get anything. So I think what happened is you learn to accept what you have. And for somebody like my aunt who's older, I think she would have been worrying to death, right?
Yeah.
She doesn't know what the future holds. For us, we're just taking it one day at a time. We're just waiting to see if we can go to another country.
Well, and kids are so resilient too. I mean, can you imagine at your point in life where you are now being uprooted and having to start over? And I know you're a lot like me. You're tenacious, and you kind of be like, damn the torpedoes, full steam ahead. But I think for a lot of people that is, would be a huge barrier if they just lost everything and had to start over fresh. But as kids, we heal quick, mentally and physically.
Well, I believe there are a couple of million Vietnamese who escaped.
Mm-hmm.
And they basically lost everything. Because when you leave, you can't really bring anything. If you ended up meeting pirates, they're going to rob you or kill you.
Right.
Our boat...
Or sell you into slavery, too.
Yeah. Our boat actually was robbed by the Coast Guards, the Vietnamese Coast Guards. They shoot at you, they chase you, because we weren't in international water yet, and they just went up there and just start, empty your pocket. I remember them saying, you're not going to need this money when you go wherever, so they literally just rob you.
Mm-hmm.
The other choice is they'll take you back and put you in jail. So I have friends who been put in jail as a kid if they get, if they arrest your boat and just put you in jail. It doesn't matter if you're a little kid. They just put you in jail. So I have several friends who've been through that situation. So my story, if you talk to any Vietnamese, is we all have the same story.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and that's something that I definitely wanted to bring out in this podcast, because it's about what you do, but more it's about who you are behind what you do. And I think that's something. So I've had a lot of friends from Vietnam, and mostly second and third generation.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I talked to them about their families, and something just came out glaring to me one day. So I asked their mom, I was like, hey, is this the thing? She was like, yeah, that's what we do. So I noticed that people from Cambodia, when they come over, they all open donut shops.
Mm-hmm.
People from Vietnam, nail shops and shrimping boats.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I was told is, hey, look, what we do, we build up a business, and when we can afford to bring someone from back home, we bring them from back home, and then we help them start a business. I got a lump in my chest whenever I heard that, because it's the most American story out there to me. So talk to me a little bit about that subculture of Vietnamese immigrants and how maybe it differs from, just normal experiences, someone who was born here.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think I'm going to backtrack a little bit. So in the 80s, if you talk to people my age, we were all told, if you're a boy, you need to be an engineer.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a girl, you need to be in healthcare.
Every Asian mom ever.
Well, and no, but the reason is it's going to be easier for you to find a job.
Right.
It had nothing to do with anything, with status or anything. So everybody, I mean, I was considering being a medical technician because I remember my aunt said, this is a new field. It's going to be so easy to find a job. This is the one you should go in, right? So that's why a lot of us end up in those particular fields. Now, when you mention nail shop, I think it comes a little bit later. And it's interesting you mentioned that. I'm about to do a documentary about the nail industry.
Really? Cool.
Yes. One of my friends told me, hey, let's do a movie about this. And I go, yeah, it's a cultural story. That's a lot of times that's how I look at it. But I think for me, I think people go into the nail industry, for example, number one is because you don't have to speak a lot of English. You could just quietly do the job. Because, of course, when you first come here, sometimes you don't speak English, right?
There's a Vietnamese comic who does an entire skit on that.
Right.
You know the one I'm
and I
talking
think I know.
Oh, I know why you don't have a boyfriend.
Yeah.
She is so funny.
And the funny thing is she actually is very famous because she treats celebrities. And so it's her celebrity friend who advised her to do that. So it wasn't, for us when we watch it, at first we're like, this lady is trying to make fun of us.
Right.
But it wasn't. It was actually her experience with her friend, right? But see, for me, why did the Vietnamese choose to be an entrepreneur, right? They don't know the law. They can't really read.
Because it was the first opportunity that they had to do so.
Yeah, but they choose, okay, I'm not going to go work, right? And it might be the English barrier. If I go to work, they're going to ask me a question. I don't know how. This one, maybe somebody can help me fill out paperwork. I'm going to go ahead and open a store, and then I'm going to get started. So the nail industry is now $1 billion industry. And there are a lot of Vietnamese who are in that industry. And from those parents, you got doctors, dentists, you got all of these kids coming out. And I think it just so happened that the Vietnamese picked that particular one. The person actually who brought the Vietnamese into that industry was Tippi Hedren. She was a star of The Birds from Alfred Hitchcock. One of her friends is one of the famous Vietnamese actress, Kieu Chin. And so when they first came in the late 70s, this lady was helping these ladies to figure out what to do. And that's what they did. They were learning. There were 20 of them, I think.
Well, and she's an actress, so she's like, hey, I need makeup. I need someone to do my nails.
Right. So you got 20 ladies who started learning that, and now you go to every corner and you see a nail shop, and most of them are Vietnamese.
Absolutely. It's so I tried to I've tried to learn many languages. I know how to say thank you in about 45 different languages, but that's about all I know.
Okay.
Like my Spanish is passable if if I need to get somewhere like the bathroom in an emergency, but that's about it.
Yeah.
My French, my grandmother would be very, very upset with me because my French is still not very good. But Vietnamese was actually the hardest thing I ever tried to learn because of the rising and falling inflections. My tongue just does not do that. Like I can give you a passable come on or ask for doa, but that's about it.
Well, did you know that the Vietnamese language was invented by a French missionary?
Interesting. I was actually going to ask you because it differs so much from the Cambodian language. For instance, Cambodian Akon versus Gamon, very, very different roots.
But you look at the characters.
They're
so
similar.
Vietnam is the only country in Asia that have the alphabet. So we have the old language, look kind of like the Chinese character,
right?
But the modern language was invented by a French missionary, Alexandre de Rode.
Okay.
And all the accent came from the French. The French have this and that. So
you're saying this is actually technically my fault in the end.
No, no, but it's one of those languages that there's a lot of accent, and with the French, I think that, for example, there's that word. I think there could only be one accent going above an E.
Right.
But for the Vietnamese, the same E, you could have 4 or 5
stack those suckers
different
on there.
accents. And each one of them means something else.
Well, yeah, and that was the thing that really tripped me up whenever I was trying to learn it. Is I would say something and my friend would just laugh and shake his head. He said, "No, you went wah, and you were supposed to go oh." And
Right,
I'm like,
right.
What?
Right. Yeah.
So he said, "No, you said this, and you definitely don't want to say that in
right,
polite company."
right. Yeah.
Oh goodness! But so, talk to me a little bit about these early experiences. How did they shape the way that you view opportunity, and did they provide you with anything, resilience or intention? What lessons did you bring from that into your life? What benefit did you draw from it?
I think, and I'm very blessed. When I first came, well, we don't have any money to go anywhere, right? So I remember the first Christmas, we were all at home for 2 weeks, and I read Les Miserables, right?
I love Les
The
Miserables.
whole book unabridged with a dictionary next to it. And so for me, it was figuring out, okay, if I can't understand what they say on TV a whole lot,
But what
maybe
a wonderful book for an immigrant to read too.
yes.
I mean,
Well, I read the Vietnamese version
Right.
back home, so of course I kind of have an idea. But when I pick up the book, I go, "How come this book is so big?"
Right.
And so it took me a whole 2 weeks.
These sloppy American characters are so fat.
Yeah. But I think for me, it was one thing I would do is it was sort of an escape, right? But at the same time, that's how I got educated.
Right.
Just reading books, going to the library. Because I remember there was a paper that you have to do in high school. We don't own a typewriter. So I would ride my bike to the public library
Right.
and wait until my turn so I can use the typewriter. All of these things. And I think what I used to think is, you know what? If I do better, I can get a typewriter, an electronic typewriter,
Right.
If I do better, I can get a car because I'm biking all over the place. So there's always a little bit of a goal or dream right in front of me, getting me. So nobody needs to drive me, right? No pushing, no. It's just, well, my friend, they get to do that. I want to do that. So that's how I got started, and it's always, for me, I think a lot of it was, if nobody's gonna notice me, put it that way, I need to get people to notice myself, right? Like I need to raise my hand in a group because nobody's gonna call on me, kind of thing.
Right.
And if you're gonna be a foreigner or an immigrant, this is the best country to be in.
I think so.
Right?
But I'm also limited to a sample size of one, right? It's interesting to me. All of the people who I've interviewed who have done the best in life, who've been very productive, who've been very successful by whatever measure they use, I would say 90% of them started off in abject poverty. I did. And it's something I worry about with my kids is, and you've seen our house. This is not what I grew up in, I worry that we may have robbed them of the opportunity of being poor. Does that make any sense to you?
It does, and that's one of the reasons why I encourage people to share their story.
Right.
Right? You could be sharing with your kids. You could be sharing with your neighbor, your colleagues. Because when you have that courage...
Would you like some water?
Sure. When you have...
I've been picking on her about being short. So I'm 6'2". And Emily, how tall are you?
4'11".
4'11". I dated a girl who was 4'11" in my freshman year of high school. I had backaches all the time.
Oh, okay.
You get to hug her, and she's like way down here. So you're saying though?
Yeah. So what I was saying is telling your story. So even if your kid cannot experience what you experience,
right?
When you tell them the story, they will be able to visualize it a little bit and be able to appreciate that. So, for example, I made my kids. I remember I made them read my first book, And I remember they were like, okay, Mom, we'll do it sometime.
Right.
And then one day I was at work, my daughter called and was crying. And I go, what is wrong? And Mom, I just finally read your story. And then she just went off, right? And for us, it's
just life. It's just what we went through.
and a lot of us don't share that story.
Right.
Because sometimes we don't want to remember the past. But I think that's one thing that would help your kids be very strong, is to know your story. They may not have experienced the poverty, but when you share with them that, they understand. If you have a chance to take them to, do a mission to see other side of poverty where they would actually go back and feel grateful and feel appreciative. Because, I don't want to make my kids live a poor life just to experience
Right.
it. You don't need that. But because we are all smart people and we have smart kids, if we teach them the right way and we show them the differences, they will appreciate that, right? Like one of my kids, when he was in school, he graduated from UCLA almost 2 years ago, and we were talking about war. So he was one of those campers, at UCLA, camping against the Palestinian
Right.
war. And I told him, I said, it's really has nothing to do with you because you're born here, you're Asian, right? Why do you feel the need to do that?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, because my friends lost family over there,
Right.
right? So I think when we have the opportunity to help people experience, whether they may not experience the real thing, but they experience the emotion, they become more open, they become more sharing, they have more gratitude. And so it doesn't necessarily have to be where you have to experience it, but you can still see that, feel that, and be able to, to change the way you see the world and be open-minded.
I think every opportunity is like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for people who think deeply about the way that they act, for people who think about their own motivations, people who are introspective, I think it's a great opportunity. For others, it may be a wasted opportunity. But so because you actually already answered this question, but I want to pull further answers out of you here. So dentistry was not always your first choice. You were looking at something else, medical technology.
Yeah,
So
no,
why dentistry and how? And what was the road there?
Well, I was told that I need to be in the healthcare field,
Right.
because it's easier to find a job. So I was looking at medicine, and this is back in the days when you have a pager.
Mm-hmm.
And I never really wanted to be trackable, put it that way.
Right.
Go to a party and the pager goes off and everybody's like checking their thing. And I'm thinking, why would I want people to track me down? Like, little do we know, now we have the cell phone, right? So I said, no, I don't want to be a doctor. I don't want to be tracked. And one of my earliest experience in the hospital was my mom passing away. So I never really, I don't want to be in the hospital.
Right.
Then I look at pharmacy, because my aunt used to be a pharmacist back home. But back in Vietnam, a pharmacist have a little drugstore, and you come in and you say you have a tummy ache, and she would sell you 3 Tylenol.
Right.
You
They
know,
didn't
that-
have to wait for a prescription from a doctor to.
Well, but
do
there's
whatever.
no go to the store and there's 20 choices that you can just buy whatever. So the pharmacist there is kind of like a doctor, right?
Right. Or an apothecary, more to
Yeah,
the point.
but that was one of my friends told me, well, we don't do that here, because his parents were also pharmacists. So this one friend actually told me you should be a dentist, and that never occurred to me, because I think when I went to dental school, I had one filling in my mouth, and it just never occurred to me. So I said, okay, let me see. I don't have to be a pharmacist because it was really boring. I went and talked to a pharmacist, and he said he count pills. I go, that's not going to work. Medical technology, I went to one of the facility, and I asked the gentleman, I said, where are all the microscope, right? Because you're thinking medical technology. And he goes, what do you mean? There's a computer, put the sample in, push a button, come out the result.
Right.
So I'm not one of those people where you just push a button and get the answer. So by process of elimination, I got to dentistry. So no, it wasn't my first choice, and I went to dental school. I didn't really have a lot of money. I didn't know dentistry costs a lot to set up, to practice. But what I do appreciate, and when you live longer, then you start looking back that it's really God, give you the way where to go. We have that luxury of being able to provide continuous care.
Right.
And so we can build a relationship. And I don't think you have too many careers that you can build a relationship with your customer or your patient or your client. I recently sold 2 practices in the Pasadena area in California, and I did a little testimonial with one of my patients, and I know there are 3 generations in my office. So I said, okay, well, I just want you to say that there are 3 generations, and how you feel. And she go, okay, well, there are 4 generations of my family. I forgot her dad.
Right.
Yeah, she's in her 70s, so her dad is, I don't know, closer to 90. But how many people can say that?
Right.
Right. And then I think it's a blessing. It's something that sometimes we don't think about. Yes, dentistry is not easy. It's physical. Everybody say, okay, people hate you or whatever. And I think there could be a lot of people who hate you, but the most difficult ones when you hate yourself.
Yeah.
When you keep taking all of that in, and then you start wondering.
I think there's a lot of reasons for the, I would call it an epidemic of self-hatred, depression. I think a lot of dentists go through it. I think social media is part of it. And you and I are involved in that. So,
right.
Trying to live other people's highlight reels, forgetting that the only things they post are the positive things. They don't post the negative things. And imagining that everyone else's life is perfect. I think that's a big problem. From the things I've seen with my group, I've seen thousands upon thousands of private conversations coming to me and asking me to post something anonymously or what have you. And one of the common threads that I see is self-hatred because either they don't feel like they're, quote, real doctors because they've never really, I think, expanded their skill set. And guys, if you're a dentist and you haven't expanded your skill set since you graduated, you have failed every single year since then, 100%. So I think it's that, or it is guilt over the amount of money that they make because they feel like it comes so easily. So they feel guilt that they're taking other people's hard-earned money. I think there's a lot of that. I really do. No one should be ashamed of how much money they make. Money that you make is, frankly, it's the currency by which you can buy good in the world. You can make good things happen. Now if you're a stingy bastard and you're sitting on a couple $2 billion and you see the world around you and it's suffering and you decide to keep your couple $2 billion, that's all you. But if you want, you can help people. It's not like there's a law against that.
Exactly, and that's one of the reasons I go into high performance coaching, because it's really the mindset. Like you say, when I'm talking to people and they say, "Well, Emily, you always talk about money, like higher production and net profit," and I said, "Yes, because it's what we use to gauge.
Yeah.
Like it's a metric. You could be making a lot of money and you go and you give it all away, as long as you know it, or if you want to broadcast it to the world that you donate your money away, that's up to you. But it's only a metric. And because we do have to work with metric to kind of know where we're going, right? But it cannot be just, oh, I think I'm doing well. If you're doing well for yourself, are you planning to taking care of your kids or maybe your elderly parents? Or are you taking care of the community, right? I hear people, I see some friends, they have the biggest house, fancy stuff, and sometimes you go to their office and it's this
Run
tiny,
down.
Exactly.
It's gross.
Right. And I don't get it. I mean, I would put money into my office before I put it in my house.
Well, it's different
because
priorities.
Right, but that is where you serve your patients, and that's where your wealth comes from.
Right.
Right. And that's what I'm trying to say is if you have that mindset that, you know what, these are the people I take care of, and the one way for me to take care of them is to have a nice office and have good staff and, you know, treat the staff nice, etc. Or I can just take care of only my family, right? So I think that's a misalignment. I think that's why you say they feel that the money comes so easy. If you're only going to take care of your house, then yeah, you're going to have a lot of money left over.
Right.
If you're actually going to invest in your office, you invest in your staff, you do things for the community, there's going to be a lot of money going out, right?
Right.
But it goes out for a purpose. And I think if we have that right mindset, right, the right money mindset, a lot of people are going to be happier.
I tell something to dentists a lot, even though I don't consult and I won't. It's just not something that I find joy in. I do talk to dentists a lot, and I talk them through their problems, and I say, okay, well, let me see what you've got. Okay, well, look, you've got a case acceptance issue here, or you've got a phone answering issue here, or whatever. But when I encounter that wealth issue, where they seem like they have guilt over the money they're making, I tell them there are only two types of people in this world who can live exactly as they want. The destitute and the fabulously wealthy, because everyone else is caught in a web of obligation. Think about that. It's true, you know? So,
and one way to get happier, sorry to cut you off.
No, that's okay.
Is to prioritize your obligations. Because sometimes when they feel, you know what, I have the money come in and there's all these obligations, but is it something that you have to do? Like last month, I was helping my cousin close on his first home. And the reason I did that is because he came here as an immigrant. He's the youngest son of one of my uncle, and it's going to be his first home, right? So you're thinking that American dream, and you're like, okay, I need to help my cousin.
That's kind of the bedrock that everything starts at.
Yeah, and most people would say, well, he's your cousin. Why do you have to help him, right? But for me, it is when somebody come here, and that is, they're dreaming of coming here, and they want to live that life, and this is the first time they're buying a home, you feel honor to help them to be able to do that. So I think for those of us who, like you say, if you have a lot of money and you're feeling guilty, and, you know, of course, assuming that you get all that money ethically, right? You should look at ways where you can create impact with that money. One of my friends that I work with, she's from India. She showed me a video of her going back to India. She's an engineer. On the side, she helped produce film festivals.
Okay.
And she's produced movies and all that. She showed me video of her going back to India and in the little alley just to put light bulbs. She showed me this video, and I go, okay, it's like really dark. And she go, no, it's not dark. It's just dark because in the alley there's no light, but it's daylight. And I go, but it looks dark. And sure enough, she's walking, and when she get out of the alley, it's broad daylight.
Right.
And so it could be something very simple.
So the amount of crime that she may have prevented just from doing that.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a. Have you ever read the Tipping Point, the broken windows theory?
Yes.
100%.
Yeah.
So with all this stuff, was there ever a point where life just hit you hard and you were done? What kept you from giving up? What pulled you out of that?
Yeah, so about 10 years ago, I was involved in a business lawsuit. It was against an insurance company. So I started out with some conflict, the staff and the patient, and this particular insurance worked with union. So all of a sudden, I find myself getting caught in union politics and insurance and this and that. And then, of course, it became this big thing, you know. When I was talking to the malpractice insurance, they go, this is not malpractice. This is called third-party issues. So go find yourself a lawyer.
Right.
I mean, they refer me to a lawyer, and I still remember getting there, and he told me, "You look pretty good." And I go, "What do you mean?" And he said, "Most people that I'm helping, they just got out of jail." And I go, "Thank you so much." And I explained to him what happened, and he said, "Okay," because I'm telling him, "Okay, you need to help me deal with this insurance company." And he started going, "Okay, I'm going to help you with Dentical, with a dental board, with blah, blah, blah." And I go, "What is, that has nothing to do with that. This is this insurance company."
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Oh, trust me, everybody's going to be involved."
Oh, yeah.
So I said, "Okay, so how long is it going to take?" And he said, 5 years. And I thought the guy was joking. And it took 5 years.
I had a malpractice lawsuit. There was nothing there. We won. In fact, they made her pay the legal fees, which was nice. But it took 4.5 years.
Yeah.
And nothing. There was nothing there.
Yeah. And I think I was frustrated. Number one is, of course, you can't talk to anybody.
Right.
For 5 years, right? Number two, there was a lot of just legal paperwork and being very productive, right? I'm thinking, why am I filling out this piece of paper again? You're asking me the same question. You're just sending me a different piece of paper. And you have to handwrite it. This is 10 years ago. And to go back and forth, and then finally settle out of court, right? My thing was, so it took me to the core because at one point I was actually wondering if I knew what I was doing, right? Because when they take you to a deposition and they read every page
And they always get the biggest asshole doctor.
of the chart, right? And they go, da, 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 why did you do this? And you're just like, maybe I don't know what I'm doing. This is getting, this is getting kind of ridiculous, but this is getting to where I don't feel like I have control.
Right.
Right? And even though I've already been practicing for 20 years, all of a sudden I just feel maybe I don't know what I'm doing. And I think that was a hard part. So coming out of that, I think it's like nothing can really touch me now because during that time there was a lot of self-reflection, right? Did I do this right? Like you have to go back and look at how you've been running your business, how you've been studying, have you been ethical, have you treated the patient right, have you treated the staff right, and all that. So I don't think any one of us should go through something like that to, get challenged to the core where you say, okay, like you feel despair, right? Because the one of the, what do you call them?
Stages of grief.
No, the person who were arbitrary.
Oh,
right.
Got you.
He actually looked at me and say, "I think you should walk away because they are determined to take you down." Right. I don't know if that's common during arbitration, but I just look at the guy and I say, "I'm not walking away," right? Because whatever they say is not true.
Right.
But to take 5 years to prove that you're not, that's not you, it's just ridiculous.
And this is something I haven't really talked about a lot. A lot of my close friends know about it, but they bring you in front of these arbitrators and things like that, and they're reading all these notes, and they have these other doctors who are supposed to be these world-class experts or what have you, and they're just destroying your work and saying everything you did was wrong and this and that and the other. It was eye-opening. Whenever I finally met the expert witness, he was a little old man, and I did feel bad about what I ended up doing to him. I eviscerated him on the stand. So I'm an FICOI. He was testifying against me as a prosthodontist who had placed one implant in his entire career in 1974.
Wow.
I eviscerated him. And I felt bad afterwards, but the thing that kept me going was thinking how many other dentists this guy had screwed,
Right.
pretending to be an expert about something he was. I can't even imagine anything further from an expert.
Right.
And how many millions of dollars has he screwed dentists out of because they were afraid?
Mm-hmm.
I had already gone through the depression. I had already gone through all that. I arrived at anger,
Mm-hmm.
and I decided that we were going to win no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
It came out the patient was actually trying to get money out of me because, you know, things people don't know. Guys, you should know about this. If you're ever sued by a patient, all of their medical records suddenly become open. There's no HIPAA for them anymore, not whenever it comes to legal. And so we got all of her psychiatrist notes, and she was planning on leaving her husband. She told the psychiatrist she was in this lawsuit so she could get the money to start her life again.
Mm-hmm.
So I almost feel bad for her attorney because we destroyed him.
Mm-hmm.
But these are just the things we've got to deal with as dentists.
Yeah, and I think that's where I say the courage part, right? Like if you, like for me, I kept asking myself, did I do anything unethical?
Right.
Right.
And there's always someone online who'll tell you, oh, that you shouldn't have done it that way. Or what have you.
Right. But like to my knowledge, I mean, if you made a mistake and you didn't know, that's different. But I kept asking myself, and I just could not find. I couldn't find me wrong, put it that way.
Right.
And so at one point, I just said, okay, this is going to be in God's hands. I'm sure there's a lesson somewhere in
and
this.
God, I
fight.
promise I'll learn this lesson. Just help me out here.
Whatever the lesson is. But it's kind of beyond me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I was in the lawsuit, at one time I was fighting with my attorney. He said, you know, because I said something like, oh, well, you know, just let them come and I'll give them the chart and they can look at it. Because they were saying that I was doing a bunch of wrong things. And he was fighting with me. So finally he said, pull over. Because, you know, I was driving.
Mm-hmm.
So I pull over. And I still remember the street that I pulled over. And he go, do I tell you how to do a root canal? And I go, no. And he said, well, then shut the F up and let me do this because this is my part, right?
Yep.
And that's when...
You had a good lawyer.
and this is when, like I said, when you realize that, you know what, you don't know everything. And when you have experts, sometimes you just need to let them help you, right? Because we will fight it every step of the way. Like when the insurance said, we're going to come, right, and go over the charts. And he wrote them a letter and say, you are not coming.
Yeah, where's your HIPAA warrant? Oh.
Well, but this is, they were doing some really bad stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But my thing was, I go,
their contract is a state contract. It is not a federal contract, which means you cannot supersede HIPAA, period.
Well, I was like, okay, we need to get ready for the insurance company to come. And he said, nobody's going to come. And I said, no, they say they're coming. So he sent this tiny little associate attorney show up. And we were all sitting here waiting for the insurance to show up. Of course, they never did. But like these are things that you don't know. You because we don't know, we take the threat very seriously. But if we have somebody represent us and somebody who understand it, then
who we will let do their job.
Yes, we will let them do their job and we will listen to them. So now I'm more comfortable, right? Yeah, when somebody try to threaten this and that, you know, if the patient says, I'm going to go sue you, okay, first thing I'm going to do, go read the chart.
Mm-hmm.
Did I wrong this patient or whatever it is? Because I'm sure you know the saying, anything that you can solve with money is not a problem, right? So what? If you lose the money with this patient, there will be other patients.
Right.
I think the key thing is to be able to sleep at night, right? Knowing that because you didn't do anything wrong. And if people think you do something wrong, again, you have to ask yourself, but did I actually do something wrong? Like because sometimes you could unknowingly make a mistake.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Happens all the time.
So to have that grace to give to yourself.
I was going to say, you have to give the grace to yourself. I love that.
And to trust the higher being because, you know, life sometimes is bland already. Of course, you can change it a little bit, but sometimes you have to go with the flow.
So in all this time, growing these practices, get to the point where you've got 3 practices, you're a mom. Talk to me a little bit about the sacrifices you had to make in one area or the other, and how you coped with that so that neither side of that suffered.
I think when we choose to do so many things, right? Of course, we cannot do it 100%. I mean, of all the years, I know I miss a recital of my daughter, and I felt so bad until later she told me, "Yeah, you didn't come, but you sent auntie," because I couldn't figure out how could I possibly miss a recital and don't remember, but because I sent my sister. In any case, that was one of the like a turning point, right? I go, I should not miss the kids, the kids things. Now, after a while, they get into too many things. That's a different story. Then we have to set the priority.
About 14 or 15. They want to do everything. And then I think whenever they hit 16, they don't want to do anything anymore.
Yeah. And so I think one of the sacrifice, for example, that you mentioned with the business is to let go, like to really trust the people, which is one of the reasons why we got into the lawsuit. But anyway, because you can be controlling, right? And we're not big enough where we're going to have a CEO and a CFO or whatever. It was me managing all three with associate doctors and office managers and things like that. But I was comfortable because we have that culture, right? And people were taking care of the patients and things. But of course, looking back, do I need to have 3 offices? There was a reason why I didn't get the 4th one, because after I got to the 3rd one and I said, I don't want to show up to this office to count money, because then I felt disconnected. Every day when the kids were in school in the morning, I dropped them off. Then I go to work. I work from 9 to 2. Then I leave work and go pick them up. And I would take them to the babysitter, or when they were older, sometimes they go to work with me. So I go, that's from 2 to 4. Then we'll go back to work from 4 to 6. And then go pick up the kids, and then we go home, and then we'll do dinner and things like that. So I didn't mind the running around, right? I think most parents don't do that in general. Most full-time dentists don't do that. But I took pride doing that. Because I still remember I would pick up the kids at around, 2 something, and on the radio back then was Les Brown. Every day. Because, you pick up the kids at the same time, and he would say, you got greatness within you. Right? So all my kids pick up the line. and so you love.
Welcome back to Affirmation Radio.
Yeah, and those are the memories that, you can't buy, right? And so for me, it was okay to be an okay mom, an okay boss. Like, I'm not striving to be 100%. I'm striving to do the best to my potential. And I think that's one of the difference between me and some other people is I do push myself. I do realize that, I'm not quite there. I'm not quite 100%. I can push myself some more. And sometimes that creates the stress.
So if you could go back to you and you had time to say 3 sentences to you entering dental school, what would they be?
Entering dental school, like that's when we really know nothing. 3 sentences for a new dental student, right? The first one would be enjoy life. Take the time and enjoy that journey. As you know, the dental school time is actually the good time. A lot of work, but it is a good time. The second one would be don't be so ambitious. Because I was, that's one thing that I am, would be very ambitious. And the third one would be have more fun. I think as dentists, doctors, professional, we take ourselves very seriously, and then we expect other people to be serious. I mean, I'm blessed. My class was goofy. We were very goofy, class of 1993 from UCLA. I remember, and I'll tell you the goofy story. I have this friend. Every single lecture, she would raise her hand to ask a question. Like every single lecture. So one day, one of the instructor finished the lecture, and one of my friend in the back would raise his hand, and then he goes, "Okay, what is your question?" And he said, "I don't have a question. I'm sure she has a question." So, so we were having fun while we were stressing out. And I think going back, if you're going into dental school, make sure you have fun. Make sure you don't be so ambitious, because I'm still very ambitious, and just enjoy life.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know about your school, but ours had the reputation for flip-flopping every other acceptance year, a serious class and a goofball class.
Okay.
And I don't know if that was purposeful or what, but it was the gunners and the slackers. And my class was the slacker class. I mean, we had one guy who smoked pot all day long, only showed up for test and aced every single test. We had one guy who was like 20 years old. He turned 21 when he graduated.
Okay.
But I remember we're all stressing out about a practical. I think it might have been class 2 practical.
Mm-hmm.
No, it had to be a crown or something because it was in third year. And so, the culture of the group suffers when people are really stressed out.
Right.
And so I went to, I was driving from here to University of Texas Dental Branch. So it was about an hour and a half every way. You've seen the wonderful traffic around here. And so I went at about 4 o'clock in the morning to Walmart, and we had this craft and hobby section, and I bought the biggest googly eyes I could and little sticky pads. And I went and I set everybody's mannequin up for the test, and I put googly eyes on all of them, and I set up their rubber dams and everything. And I think that was one of my favorite moments in dental school, is because I realized how much benefit everyone got from just that goofy laugh.
Right.
I wonder if the gunner class was as happy as we were.
Well, in my class, the gunners are the ones who sit in the front, and they study hard. But the rest of us, it's we used to, how at night they close the door to the lab. So, of course, now you can't get back in because of the code.
Right.
But back then, what we used to do was put some wax in the lock.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're the last one to leave, you better put some wax there so I can get in.
That's right. So you can go wax up your damn denture.
Yeah. And I think, but if you get caught, the lab manager or supervisor, he would give you a pink slip, right? And that.
How many pink slips did you get, Emily?
I think I only got 1 or 2, but the reason I told you is one day we were getting into the lab, and the whole lab was filled up with pink slip. Everybody got a pink slip. So somebody stole the pad, and I got to my pink slip, and it say, "Your volleyball sucks," or something along that line, because I used to play volleyball with the class, right? So when somebody was just playing a joke, but when people come in and, the gunner, they go, "I'm getting a pink slip." You have to have that. And somewhere along the line, we lose it. Somewhere along the line, everything is serious, right?
I had a buddy, one of my good friends in dental school. We still talk every now and then, Dr. Travis Heaton. But he kept me in perspective. So I was, I guess, the secret gunner. I would sit in the back row, but I'd already read the book, and I'd already done all the classwork. And I was just listening so I could ask questions. So I was the annoying guy in the back asking questions, so different from your friend. But I went to school late in life, and so I know for a fact now you'd have a very different attitude. You'd go to school, you're paying the money, you want to wring every drop of information out of them that you can. And so I think my dental school career was a little different than a lot of my friends. I mean, they were taking off and doing, well, they had that one guy with the pot, but they were taking off doing ski trips and all sorts of stuff, and I was just trying to squeeze every bit of information I could out of our professors. But so what was, because your first practice was a scratch startup.
Oh, no, I bought an existing.
Oh, I thought you had done a scratch startup on the first one.
No, I bought existing, and the last 2 that I bought was kind of a startup.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So what did you find the differences were between a scratch startup and a purchased practice?
I think you might as well say that I have a scratch startup because I've bought buildings and renovate and move the office over. So I experience all that, right? If you were to do a startup, you're going to go rent a suite and then you build your own office, you design it. So I've done all that. I think for me, for my personality, buying an existing was easier because otherwise I think I would drive myself crazy just sitting there with nothing to do. But either way, so for me, going back to letting go, right? The people, if you know yourself and you know you're very picky and things have to be your way, do a startup because you can design everything from the beginning. But for somebody like me, right now I'm working with a friend. He wants to go buy dental offices. He decided he want to get into that business. He's not a dentist, right? And he said, "Hey, Emily, help me go look at dental offices." I go, "Okay, fine." And because we're doing some other real estate thing together. And, now when you look at the P&L and you look at the report and you can tell where's the gap, right? And it's more, okay, I kind of don't care what the office look like,
Right.
But these are the numbers. Okay, we change the numbers.
Profit? What's the net profit?
Right. If he has no ortho, we're going to bring in ortho. If he opens 4 days, can the office support 5 days? Like all of these things. So for me, what I would say, because you mentioned startup or even buying an existing practice, and this is one of the things that kind of my pet peeve with our colleagues, right? Is you got to be a student.
Yes.
Right? You want to do implant and you spend $20,000 and you learn the continuum or whatever, but when you want to go open a dental office, you decide that you know how to do it. And most of us don't know how to do it. I mean, I didn't know how to do it. I knew that at a certain point I said, okay, I'm done working for somebody. I need to have my own. I've learned enough where I can see it, like where I know I can run it, right? So to be that student and educate yourself. I talked to one of the doctor on the phone, and I think I asked him, "So, how long have you been practicing?" And he said, "Well, I'm in my 4th year of my startup," and I told him, "Doctor, in 2 years is a startup. 4th year is not a startup.
No.
And as long as you keep telling yourself that you're in a startup, you're not going to push yourself, right? Like after 2 years or 12 months or whatever, you need to start making money and, start getting growth. But just the way you say things or the way you think, that can hold you back. So,
right.
Yeah. So for me, it doesn't matter if it's a startup or an existing office. Know yourself. If you're picky, don't go buy a practice that you come in and you say, okay, I don't even like the lamps or whatever.
Oh, more than that, process,
right,
workflow, systemization.
Right.
You buy a practice and you're super picky, and I can speak to this. My first practice was a startup. My second, actually, I purchased. And the hardest thing for me to do was when I purchased that practice, I had to mentally switch gears and say, this is not my practice.
Okay.
This is not my baby. What's working here already?
Right.
Let it run. And I didn't make any changes for 6 months. And then I fired someone as quickly as I could because I knew from the second that I met her that she needed to go. But you have to give what's working a chance. It was valuable enough that you purchased it. Let it keep working. Let the system shock wear off that someone's just bought their job, right? So they have no control.
Right.
And allow things to settle in. And if you can't do that, you probably shouldn't buy a practice.
Right. And that's my point is you need to know yourself first because any broker will want to sell you a practice.
Right.
But you need to
any
know
practice, any practice at all.
Yeah. But you need to know that, with your personality, that is not going to work. I mean, I have friends to this day. So we are out for 32 years. I have a friend in San Jose, my best friend. She's still telling me that the patient come to see her. And I said,
well, how do you plan on retiring ever?
I know. I said, I don't think so. Most of my patients don't come to see me. They come to see the staff. They come for the service. And yes, I may have a handful of people who want to come and they only want to see me because they tried the different associates or whatever, and they go, oh no, I just want to see you. And it's okay. But in general, if you keep thinking that they come to see you, how are you going to grow?
Well,
right?
How are you ever going to allow an associate to eat?
Right.
Because when you bring an associate on, in my opinion, if someone's starving, it needs to be the owner. Because you've just taken on a duty and an obligation to, to pay for someone's lifestyle, to pay for their home, to pay for their food, pay for their kids.
Right.
And if you're not willing to do that, if you're not willing to say, okay, if we don't make our numbers this month, I'm the one whose paycheck is short. Owning is not for you, or at least not owning with an associate.
Right, exactly. And I think that's the difference when somebody is an associate. If you actually take the time to look around to see, oh, this is how this office is running. They have so many people. The owner is here, not here, whatever. How would the owner make a difference versus its associate run? These are the things that I think as an associate you need to start thinking. Right? Don't just say, okay, I'm ready now. I've been out for 3 years. I'm ready to go buy practice now. So you need to educate yourself. And that's why, for me, it always go back to it's you as a person and plus all of the other external, but you're it.
Well, and there's something else to be said there. And this is something I learned early in my practice, and thankfully I realized it applied to doctors too. When you delegate with the best laid systems and with the best discipline, in other words, you are making sure people get written up if they don't do what they're supposed to do, and it's all fair, and you can expect a maximum of 80% of your efficacy in any job that you hire someone to do, and that includes associates. 80% of the case acceptance, 80% of the production, because they're not the owner, and they're not the one who's put their blood, sweat, and tears into this, and that needs to be a very realistic. That needs to be a very firm thought in your mind if you're going to bring on an associate. Is I can't expect them to be producing what I produce. Now, you can lay those systems out. You can get them the continuing education. You can give them the mentoring they need. And sometimes you'll actually get them producing more than you did. But unless you do those things, you should never expect more than 80% of what you do.
Well, the other thing I'm going to add is you need to build them up.
Right.
You need to make them feel valuable. They're not the second choice, right? They're there to see the patients. I tell you a funny story. My daughter graduated 2 years ago, so she practiced with me. I bought one of the practice. That's her graduation gift. And she was vacationing, so a patient came in, and I was standing in the front. Patient came in, and he said, I'm going to see Dr. Jennifer, right? And I said, Dr. Jennifer is not here. You see me, right? And he go, okay. So he got into the chair, and I did the checkup exam, and he needs whatever work. And he said, okay, I'm going to come back and see Dr. Jennifer. And I said, I can do the work for you. I'm Dr. Jennifer's mom, right?
Right.
And he goes, that's okay. I'm going to come back and see Dr. Jennifer.
That's funny.
And what I understood there is the connection.
Yeah, she
that the
built
patient
built loyalty in
right?
with the patient. That's
and she's a brand new grad.
Did you tell her that?
I told her that, and then she actually knew who he was. Like, oh yeah, I know him. But
I can see the conversation. Oh wait, did he look like this?
Yeah.
That's that creepy old man I've been telling the team about.
Yeah, I was like, I can do the work. I'm Dr. Jennifer's mom, and he still said no. I was like, what? So I think that's what you need to build, right?
Well, and it doesn't take huge movements there either. One of the things, and it's so silly, but I was looking at an X-ray, and I knew my associate had done a crown. It was beautiful. So I called him into the office, and I said, "Do you see this?" Yeah. Who is that? And he looked at the patient, and I said, "Did you do this crown?" And like he got all nervous. Yeah. I said, the margins on this are beautiful. He was on cloud 9 the rest of the damn day.
Right.
It doesn't take a big thing. They don't have to run a marathon. When someone is new and unsure of themselves. And we all go through this imposter syndrome and we get out, and some of us later in life too. Even just small kindnesses like that, realistic kindnesses served out regularly will do so much for your morale and your culture in the office. And I had a program in the office that I said, catch someone doing good. And so every day my team would look for someone who went above and beyond. And guess what that translated into? Everyone went above and beyond.
Right.
Because everyone wanted to get called out at the morning huddle.
Right.
Hey, Savannah, cleaned this room for me yesterday in between checking in patients. She's a rock star.
Right.
And I think a lot of times as business owners and dentists, we get so involved in the pristine margins that we forget that part of the culture of excellence starts at calling out good behavior.
Right. And I think, this also come from me being, a refugee. So at the beginning, I needed that assurance.
Right.
Yeah, you get on stage and you talk. And yeah, you sound okay. Right? 'Cause I know I didn't sound okay. But when you speak for the first time and then the second time, as long as every single time you get better, right? So I knew that was important. Like I could believe in myself, but if you tell me that, it helped build my confidence a little bit more. And that's what you see in these little kids, right? That's what I call them. Like my daughter, she'll book a surgical extraction.
Right.
Are you gonna be there, Mom? I go I gotta take out 3 teeth. I said, okay. And then I'm just sitting there. And she goes, the patient is here. I go, okay. Are you going to come out? Nope. So I'm just sitting here. And she took out the 3 teeth.
If I hear screams, I'll be there.
Exactly, right? Or if you're there for a long time, I'll walk around. And so she just need me to be there for reassurance, right? But she can do it. So I think that's one of the joy, and it's one of those secrets to building your practice, right? Where your associate, feel comfortable and feel confident. I would tell my staff, okay, when I'm not here, this doctor, like not my daughter, but like an associate doctor in my other offices over the years, this doctor is in charge. So at the same time, if this doctor is in charge, you need to hold this doctor accountable, right? They can't just, this is a hard case. I'll have Dr. Letran handle it, right? Patient is complaining. Reschedule the patient with Dr. Letran.
Oh, what kind of financial plan is that for an owner? Yeah. I get to do all the hard work and get paid the same.
Yeah. Right.
Or at least in your doctor hat rather than your CEO hat.
Right. And so because as I was growing and working as an associate, there were people who give me that opportunity, right? And of course, sometimes you get stuck and somebody help you. And after a while, you learn your limitations. You're not going to start that case if you know you can't do it. And or like my daughter now, the associate doctor asked her for time off, and the staff asked her. I'm just like, hey, nobody's asking me anything.
Right.
This is pretty good.
Well, she has gained their confidence.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about imposter syndrome. Talk to me about your different experiences with it, because I know we all go through it, and you got to be an immigrant, you got to be a woman, you got to be a minority dentist. What ways did you experience imposter syndrome, and what tools did you use to kind of buttress your confidence to get you out of that? Or do you still suffer from
well,
that?
you know what? I think one of the most important things is you have to have a mentor. You have to have somebody.
That was my next question. Don't answer too much of that one.
Okay. No, but you have to have somebody where you say, I want to be like her, right? And then she model it for you, right? Or maybe she doesn't know she's modeling it, but you're following, right? You're following what she does, how she talk, how she take questions, for example. Secondly, you need to have faith, right? You need to have faith in yourself. And like I mentioned a couple of times already, for me, it's like I have never spoken, so it's just going to get better. It will take time. It's like when you do your first prep, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you do a prep now, it should look better than whenever you did your first prep. So you have faith in yourself, and you have faith that, this is your path. And this has recently happened to me a lot. This opportunity come up, that opportunity come up, that opportunity come up, and they're not related. But the way I look at it is, God must think that I can handle all this.
Mm-hmm.
I should get into all this, right? And so, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and venture into it. So the imposter syndrome is, essentially self-talk, and I would advise to self-talk to yourself, right, differently.
Be kinder.
Yeah, be kind to yourself. And a lot of time, what we don't do is we don't pause and just reflect. We've done all this. Like when I used to work with a dental consultant, and his thing was 5X. And everybody was like, wow, 5X, such a big concept. And when we write down how we 5X, you look and you already 5X,
No, I know
and you don't
exactly
think
what you
about
mean. It's like all those times people are like, wait, how'd you do all that?
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, I just did it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't worry about it at the time. I just pushed through. And I think that's true. But I also think that there's a cautionary tale there too.
Mm-hmm.
When you say yes to something, Anissa Holmes, thank you for teaching this to me. When you say yes to something, you must say no to something else.
Yes.
And one of the things you must say yes to is you.
Right.
Because if you don't give yourself equal weight to the opportunities you're chasing,
Mm-hmm.
you'll lose yourself in that chase.
Right. And that's why it's very important to understand yourself. And that's, I referenced this a couple of times about the high performance coaching, which is really here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care how good of a dentist you are. I don't care how good of a business person you are. When you don't have that alignment, that's why you say, so-and-so make a lot of money and then he's not happy,
Right.
right? Or, oh, now he's going through a divorce or whatever it is, which means whatever you see out here is not the whole picture.
Right.
And I think, and a lot of people, like a lot of my patients would tell me, I can tell that you like your job. And you're thinking, 32 years later, I better like it a little bit, right? But when the patient actually tell you that, you must appear differently from another dentist, or like somebody just show up, just do the work, but you actually like it. You actually want to be here. And I think when we talk about the imposter syndrome, I don't think it should exist if you have substance behind it. If you have done the work, right? And you have done the studying and everything. If you keep telling yourself, I'm faking it, right? Maybe you don't have to. You can tell yourself, I'm at the beginning stage, right? I'm new to this, but it's not so much the imposter syndrome. Now, I do have people who do that, and they have no substance behind it. They actually are imposters,
Right.
right? So I think give yourself that grace where you say, you know what? I did the study. I did this. I've done all that. Now I should be able to go out there and say I am X, right? The other thing when we mention mentor is to have people around you who will support you, right? Because I was sharing this a couple weeks ago. I remember the third time I'm speaking, I'm on stage, and all of a sudden I saw my mentor sitting there listening to me, and I just froze. Right? Because
Wait, I can't talk in front of this person. They taught me.
yeah, I just froze for a moment, and she actually took some pictures, and she told me whatever, after. I think when you have those mentors who help you along, it's going to be very hard to tell yourself that you're faking it,
Right.
right? Because there's
Well,
somebody.
particularly when your mentor shows up in the front row to watch you speak.
Yeah, but I mean, somebody's validating you.
Right.
Essentially, that's what it is. Or your peers are validating you, right? I don't think you would be stuck with that particular mentality.
Yeah. I know for me, when I started talking about going fee for service and out of network, I mean, you remember that was back in 2017? No one was doing it back then. or at least not a lot of people for certain. And everyone thought that it couldn't be done. And every single month I'm looking at my production and I'm just waiting for the bottom to fall out because I'm like, well, everyone tells me it can't be done. And who am I? I'm just this guy. And surely I'm going to fail. And that was where mine kind of took hold. And it's not a kindness that we do to each other. I think it's rooted in kindness because we don't want others to see, we don't want to see other people fail. But, in a very real sense, heck, the whole reason I started the Business of Dentistry is because there was nothing out there that was a positive feedback loop for dentists. I mean, I got on Dentaltown and I said, hey, I'm a new dentist, just graduated. I want to start a practice. Talk to me about the business side. And I got attacked from all sides. People telling me I was scum, I was unethical to talk about business. And I'm like, the hell are you talking about? This is a business. Sure, we help people. But if we don't run it like a business, we're not going to be helping people for very long.
Right.
And so, I don't know. I think in a way it's us, but it's also kind of the culture of dentistry at large. I mean, you think about dental school. It was like a great big hazing incident, like the entire time. Maybe we need to change that. Maybe we need, and I don't mean to be just, lacking substance. But there's a way to tell people you have expectations of them and to reward and to punish the variance from those expectations that doesn't tear them down as a person and doesn't cripple them going forward in life. And I think we have a bad habit there.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that sometimes when let's say I'm reading a comment and I can tell, because you know how a lot of times it's a reflection of the person, right? When the person is judging you very harshly.
It's their own self-limiting doubts.
Yeah, and they're just projecting themselves, right? So the rest of us, what we need to do is we need to know ourselves first. So I'll give you an example. Anybody can say, they're the best mom, right? So this is a non-dentistry example. I'm going to say that. I remember one time somebody told me, well, how do you know you're the best mom? And then I said something, and she said, what year were the kids born? And I think she was alluding to, if I had kids before her, then maybe I could be the best mom, right? But for me, when people actually get to it and ask, I would tell them all the things I do for my kids, which I don't know of any of my friends who do that. They get a helper to go pick up the kids. They don't go themselves. My youngest son actually was contemplating suicide, right? He was being bullied at school. And
that's a hard time as a parent.
Yeah, this is now you start questioning, am I a good mom or like what?
Well, let's be serious. At some point you're like, okay, I'm going to the school and I'm going to fuck little Jimmy up. I'm going to beat his ass and he's not going to do this to you anymore. And then you have to take a step back and say, okay, all right, you have to let your kids fight their own battles, but sometimes it feels like those battles are extremely unfair today.
Yes, so you want to you want to help them grow up, but what you want to change is, hey, the other parents, the parent of that kid who's bullying my kid, what kind of environment are you having at home where your kid felt that he need to go and beat up this little Asian boy, right? So my thing, it always could be part Asian kind of thing. It always go back to the root. What do your parents do?
No, absolutely.
Right? It has nothing to do with money or anything, but I want to know what your parents do, probably what kind of relationship you have with them, how they raise you. And then, okay, now that kid turned out that way. And we used to live, we moved to Huntington Beach. We used to live in San Marino, which is a very expensive area. And I bought the house there because I want my kids to be in a good, school district. No private school, just public school. So I know it's a good school district, but still, how do you get bullying in there? It has nothing to do with, you're in good school district. This is the environment that you raise your kids, what you allow them to watch, how you allow them to talk, right? Because I think the kid that is bullying somebody at school is probably the kind of kid that talk back to the parent.
I think the kid who's bullying someone at school is getting bullied at home.
Right. I mean, there's something in there that you have to look at, or that kid may be watching dad bullying mom.
Right.
Right. So how do you stop that chain, right? And then of course you have the doctor, and then I'm sure you heard of this. They go, "Oh, that oral surgeon, he's very mean.
Mm-hmm.
He throw instrument, right?
Yeah.
And then this perio, he hurt the patient." And I'm just like, I'm not here. You guys are right next to him. If he hurt the patient, you need to tell him.
Yeah.
Doctor, you need to be
Respectfully.
gentle. Right. Right. So it comes out in different forms, and I think it's you got to give them the feedback. You got to stand your ground, and that's how I talk about courage a lot. It's just the courage to explain yourself, to say why you believe something is whatever the way it is, and just like when people say, "Oh yeah, that person has an imposter syndrome," for me, it's like, did you even take the time to talk to that person and to make that judgment, right? That this person has that particular syndrome. So a lot of it is just self-development, personal growth, and like you were alluding to mentors. That's why I was drawn to the high performance, because one of my mentors is Brendan Bouchard, and he is a high performance coach, and he used to be bullied, and he used to want to commit suicide, and then he just put himself into studying and got to learn under big gurus like Zig Ziglar and all of those people. He studied psychology, so a lot of the thinking is science, science based. And so when you see that, okay, if somebody said this worked, and he's done the research to show you that if you think this way, your behavior will change, right? It's not just, okay, just self-talk yourself to positive stuff,
Right.
right?
I call that positive or toxic positivity,
Right, like,
because it gets you nowhere.
yeah,
There's
or
no
sometimes,
substance to it.
yeah, or sometimes he's joking. Okay, so you're stressed, so you're gonna go, and sit and
Right.
meditate. You can't meditate if it's not calm up here. And so, how do you calm yourself?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's just a matter of reflection, right? Like, why am I in this state? Why do I feel so fragile and all these things? And if you can rationalize things, like you can figure things out yourself, and you realize that you can figure things out yourself, then you give yourself a lot more credit.
Well, I think that's something that was huge for me is martial arts. Growing up and the practice of meditation and learning how to meditate and bringing that to the more stressful situations you have in the office. I know that definitely helped me. But we were talking a little while ago about mentors. So who was your greatest influence or mentor in your early life in dentistry?
That would be Dr. Howard Farran. He was one of those people. I think he started Dental Town. I think he graduated a little bit before me, and then he started Dental Town. And I'm actually not active on Dental Town.
Right.
Yeah. Dr. Farran doesn't know this. But anyway, I read what he writes, right? So the Dental Town magazine comes, and you read. I think it's still called Howard Speaks, and it's always very direct, very to the point.
What I like the most about him.
Yes, and actually, I think the last time he spoke at CDA, California Dental Association, I told my whole staff, including the associate, we all have to go listen to Dr. Farran. So he has 2 hours in the morning, then the lunch break, 2 hours in the afternoon. And midway through the morning session, he start going F, S, and all that. And the associate...
There's probably a reason I like Howard. There's probably one of the reasons I like Howard.
Yeah, and we went to lunch, and the associate go, do we have to go back and listen to him? And I said, you need to scratch out whatever he say. You just listen to the content.
Right.
right? Because he's doing it for effect, right? But I still remember him telling the story about location, where you should have your office, and he would tell the story of his parent when they wanted to open a restaurant. He said they drove him to this intersection and dropped him off, and said, stand here and count the cars. This is before Google. Stand here for I don't know how many hours and count the cars. The cars going this way, and the car going this way. And so, I like practical stuff.
Right.
Like things that you say that I can actually go, oh, yeah, no, that makes sense. If you stand there and you count the cars and you know how many cars drive by, that might be a good location to have your practice, right? And the other one is the Mato brothers. It used to be called the Richard Report.
Right.
So they have a newsletter, and same tone as Howard Ferrandi is on the magazine. The Richard Report was a pay subscription newsletter. It comes in...
The Maldos don't curse as much as Howard and I do, though.
Right, but it's type, and
right.
They'll say all these things that are very sarcastic, and my staff would be, I don't know why you're laughing. Dentistry is not that fun. And I go, no, you have to read this. This is actually funny. And those are the main two that where I was learning all of this, and I think developing a sense of humor, and at the same time, it's like, you know what, it actually doesn't matter that much because you can laugh about it. Other stuff happened to other people too. You're not the only one, and I think that's really helpful.
So as we go through our lives and our growth in business, our growth as a person, our definitions in life and our outlook change. How did you define success when you were younger, and how has that changed as you've gotten older?
I think when I was younger, success has to do with material. I want to have a great life. I want to be able to go on vacation. I want to have a nice house, whatever it is. As I'm getting older, my definition of success right now is peace. Whatever I have and whatever's going around me, do I have that peace of mind, right? I was sharing this with a couple of friends. I went to this meeting with the Institute of Absolute Intelligence, and they training the kids to develop their sixth sense. And this is with the Art of Living, which is a very big organization that teaches peace and meditation and breath work. But anyway, so there's this person interviewing me. He's called a scanner, so I guess he can see your past, your future.
Mm-hmm.
And he asked me, what do you want to know about your future? And I think he was shocked because I asked him, I want to know if I'm safe, right? Because I think most people don't ask that.
Well, you come from a little bit of a different background, don't you?
I know, but that's many years ago also.
That doesn't matter.
But it's because I value that peace.
Right.
Right? If you're safe, you can have peace. Or am I agitated all the time? Right? Do I worry all the time?
Well, at the very root, you think about this. I've never been a person for blaming the past for your present deficiencies because that's just a cop-out. But the past does shape us. So you came as a refugee, poverty, lack of freedom. But the first thing you noticed was the poverty because that's what made an effect on you. It was not having a roof over your head, not having water. It makes sense that the first thing you want to do when you get here, what's success, is not having to worry about poverty.
Right.
But as you grow and as the seasons in your life change, like for myself, for instance, I define success as choices because freedom and choices go hand in hand. So initially I was very much, I've got to make money because I came from poverty. But I think you realize eventually that the money is only the tool by which you buy safety or by which you allow yourself to have more choices in life and more freedom. You know, it's just part of the pattern of growth, right?
Yeah, and
you cut us open, we have rings like trees.
And it is interesting that we both define success with one word.
Right.
right?
Oh, you know what? That is a good point.
Because it's very clear to us that's what we want, right? And so for me, it's because when you say you want peace, it takes a lot of things to have peace,
Right.
right? But I've gotten to the point where I say, if I don't have peace, a lot of the other things don't matter, right? I need to have that peace for myself. Like, let's say I worry about my kids. Okay, if I know that the kids are fine, they got the girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, and hopefully they'll get married, then I feel peace. I don't have to worry about them. So I think for all of us, if we can just try to distill some of the values, what's most important to us, and make that the goal, we will be much happier. A lot of us are chasing after I don't know how many things. And I know that because I've chased all those things. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But if you chase those things and you're not happy, that's when there's something wrong.
Yeah, it's interesting. We all come from such very different points of view. But I've had the privilege of speaking to people from a lot of different cultures, from a lot of different countries. And I have a trick question for them. How would you define the culture that you grew up in? Do you know, it always revolves around family, food, friends, and sometimes God. No matter where you are in the world, no matter who you talk to. So you were talking earlier about Vietnamese culture. And I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, well, Cajun culture, food, family. It's pretty much the same thing.
Right.
We tend to see ourselves as kind of ships alone on the ocean, though, because our personal experience is our personal experience. And we can never assume anyone else had our personal experiences, but we all come from such a similar place in life. How did growing up in a different culture affect the way that you pursued business after clinical dentistry?
I think culture enrich our life. And we are blessed if we come from a different culture because we look at things a little differently. So I
nuances.
Yeah. So for example, you ask, Vietnamese culture, family is most important. That's why you see people, they open a nail shop and the whole family is working there. And sometimes they don't even, okay, this is good. The whole family is here. I don't want another location because my family is here, right? I don't need to go and open multiple locations. And so sometimes when you know that that's the value of the culture, then you have to respect their decision to make, whatever business decision that you say. So for me, it's because I come from that background as a refugee, a lot of the business decisions have a lot of respect for other people, culture, and it also always involves a lot of gratitude.
Right.
For me to get to this point, I don't even know how many people helped me, or I learned from how many people. When you have that feeling of gratitude, and you don't just say, "Okay, I got here because I've done it all by myself," I think you be happier because whenever you have success, you can celebrate it with a lot of people. It's not just you.
Right.
Yeah.
Success shared grows.
Yeah.
So you talk a lot about, and that was my very awkward segue into business. You talk a lot about high performance business strategy. What does that mean in plain language to a new grad dentist who is listening right now?
Well, in plain language, I would say there are 5 things that make up high performance. One is clarity, and we talk about that. Being very clear in what is it that you want to do, and it's all tied in with your values and your backstory. that's why a lot of time when you have a mentor, it's just easier to figure out, is it actually what I want? Or maybe that's not what I want, right? The very common question we see in our new grads or whoever, let's say they want to buy an office. I want to have an office there. And you ask them 3 questions, and it's very clear to you they have no idea why they want the office there,
Right.
right? For me, it's like I want to live in California because my family's there and the food is there. That's it. It's very clear. You want me to move somewhere else? No, because my family's, so I'm very clear. So clarity is important. Productivity is important. So if you just graduate from school, and of course, when you're in school, it's okay to do a prep in 3 hours, and you go out and you do work, and you notice that people are doing prep in an hour, you should be striving.
10 minutes.
Well, at the beginning, you should be striving toward that. So you realize that you weren't productive
Right.
from school, right? Having energy, taking care of yourself. I remember having an associate years ago who complained of back pain. And I would tell her, well, I've been out longer than you. I don't know why you have back pain, right? And one of the reasons I wear loop.
You don't have as much back to bend.
One of the reasons I wear loop is because it forced me to sit straight.
Absolutely.
Right? Because when I was in school, the whole prosthodontics department has one pair of loops to look at your impression.
Oh, wow.
This is 1989 to 1993. So I use that so that I'm going to sit straight. I want to take care of myself because if you take care of yourself, you will have that energy. I don't want people to say, I'm so tired. At the end of the day, I'm so tired. And this is even when I was an associate years ago, seeing, 30, 40 patients or whatever it is, I don't go home dead, right? And how many doctors that share with us, I'm home, I'm so tired.
Right.
I feel this is not for me, whatever it is.
A part of that is that they don't have a clear delineation between hats. They don't have a dad hat, husband hat, clinician hat, CEO hat. They try to mesh all of those different roles into one big old nasty ball of stuff. And that doesn't work.
Right. And then courage, we mentioned a couple of times, a new grad. People ask this all the time on social media. So I want to get a raise.
Produce more.
But exactly, right? So yeah, go ask for a raise, but bring the data. I've done all this. I have patients who I refer here, they ask for me, right? But having the courage to really look at your number, right? Because you think you're doing well until you look at your number and you go, actually I haven't been that productive. And then one of the last pieces is influence, right? Learning the skill, how to talk to patients, how to talk to your spouse, how to talk to your staff. Nobody taught me how to do that. I mean, it's years of reading books and listening to mentors and learning. You need to teach yourself those skills because it wasn't taught at school. But if you're out 3-4 years and you are saying nobody taught me, I think that's just an excuse.
It's a cop-out.
Right? Yeah.
So what are your favorite authors there? I love Robert Cialdini. I love, I never can remember his name. The guy who wrote Building a Story Brand. That's gold. Have you read that one yet?
No, I don't remember, but some of my favorite books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Oh, love it. Absolutely.
Very, very simple, but very deep. Think and Grow Rich.
Napoleon Hill.
Yeah, Napoleon Hill. The Science of Getting Rich. That one is a little difficult. I think my first personal growth book was Awaken the Giant by Tony Robbins. 3 Feet from Goal is also a very good book. I have a lot of authors. Dr. Ferrantu, Uncomplicate Business, right? For me, you can read a lot of books.
You have to learn the messages.
Please go execute.
Right. Now, it's okay. The 2 biggest, and I'm going to gripe. You're always so positive, but I'm going to gripe. The 2 biggest deficits, 3 biggest deficits I see in dentists who are not successful. They have no intention, they have no introspection, and they have no courage.
Yeah, so they have no intention. That's a lack of clarity. They just kind of go through and, everybody want $1 million practice. They want $1 million practice.
So it just happens, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Just because everybody wants it. The introspection,
that was sarcasm from both of us, in case any of you didn't catch that.
So, really, I think the most positive people are the people who are happy with themselves. But you have to develop that. It doesn't just happen, right? I know sometimes I talk to my friends and they go, "How do you know so much?" I go, there are books that I read.
Right.
Maybe I watch a documentary. I don't know. It's there. You can do the same thing. Why do you ask me? Right? Now, I'm very lucky because I got those mentors. Some of them wrote the damn book. Right? And they teach you that. Right? I remember in dental school, Dr. Bird, Theodore Bird, he's the one that wrote the removable book, right? And he teaches us. Dr. Stuart White wrote the radiology book, and he teaches us.
You know the pathology book? Dr. Jerry Boku? He was one of my professors. I'm still friends with Jerry. Fantastic guy.
Yeah. Ours is that purple book.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. That's it.
Those are pathology.
I think everyone uses the same book.
Yeah, but my point is, and Carranza teaches perio, and he writes the perio book. At some point you look and you go, wait a minute, I'm so lucky that I'm learning from the best.
Well, and dentistry is a small world. You can learn from the best.
Yeah, you learn from the best, and you need to get that opportunity. And there's a word that we use in personal growth is get into the right room. Right. It's very comfortable sitting around with your friends and chatting and I don't know whatever you want to do. But if you want to grow, you probably have to go in a room that your friends are not there. Right. And then you go there and you make those people your friends. Right. And so I think as a profession, we could be so much better if we be more like me. Meaning, let's go read stuff that is outside dentistry. Let's go to conference that is outside dentistry. Let's just educate ourselves.
Right. One of the big pieces of advice I give dentists is you need to take business classes, but don't take dental business classes. We don't need any special little snowflake books for dentistry because dentistry as a business is the same as every other business on the face of the earth. And if you're putting any lack of clarity between yourself and the message of how to run a practice correctly, you're setting yourself up for failure.
Right. Like the E-Myth. That's a perfect book.
Fantastic.
Go read that book.
Don't read the E-Myth for dentists. Read the E-Myth.
They come out with E-Myth for dentists, and I'm thinking, the E-Myth applies to everything.
Profit first for dentists. It's one of the things I complain about whenever I do lecture is these books don't bring any added value simply because they say dentist on them. Read the original book because the lessons that they have are universal for all of business.
It's the mindset that we think that we need to read that because it applied to us.
Well, it's because we think that dentistry is somehow different. And don't get me wrong, dentistry is different because we are dealing with people's feelings, we're dealing with their emotions, we're dealing with people in pain, we're dealing with people who don't want what we have.
Right.
But the business aspects of running a business are business aspects of running a business. It doesn't matter if it's dental or pharmacology or what it is.
Right, exactly. And I think the sooner we tell ourselves that and we be open to learning from other people, right? That's the sooner, like your mind open. The first time I learned about marketing, for example, I remember one of a facilitator in a mastermind group, he would say, "Oh, you should go talk to that guy." I say, "Why?" "Well, he sell Porsche." I go, "Okay, and why would that matter?"
Oh, because he has high value customers.
Exactly. So if you want to do that kind of dentistry, you go talk to the guy. Maybe it's not comparing teeth to car. It's just see how he think, see how he talk, right? And when we start first you have to be open because you could put a dentist next to the Porsche guy and he'll probably just talk about cars, which defeats you can talk about car too, but that's not what we're talking about, right? So you learn from different people. I mentioned a consultant that I used to work with, and he was teaching wealth, and he goes, "This column is," he didn't call it poor people. I think he called it middle class, and then this column are the wealthy. And so we were writing down all of these adjective or how you think. And at the beginning, I could identify myself saying all these things. And the whole idea is, how do I get me to think like this?
Right.
Right? Because if you think like this, you will never move over here. You have to start thinking like that. And then eventually your action start following your thinking,
Right.
and you change it. And so I think for a lot of us, stop worrying so much about the technical aspect. I don't think we have to be super dentists. That's what specialists are for. Or at least that's what I think. Okay, there's some super GP, no question about it. But we don't have to be a super GP and then get stressed about it. And open up, learn the personal growth, learn the business skills, take care of your family, take care of yourself, and really just make sure that you're happier every day. If you think about work and if you think about life and all you feel is stress, I don't know. I know that your thinking is wrong. You just need to focus on the right thing.
So something you said there just gave me an epiphany. I'm going to start making dentists do something when they ask for my help. I'm going to make them make a KPI because, okay, so in my worldview, all KPI must be data driven, which means they have to have a measurable outcome. So I am going to come up with a concept for the dentists I help, and I'm going to tell them they need to establish a happiness KPI that is measurable. I think I'm going to have to chew on that for a little while. I think that'll help some people because then they can see progression even, across the board.
Right.
But you're talking about Porsche versus, Toyota or whatever. The thing that strikes me, you go onto a car lot for, Lexus or, Porsche or, Lamborghini, whatever, high-end car lot. You ever notice that the salesmen don't run out to meet you? Because they assume you want what they got. I think that's one of the biggest lessons we can take away as dentists. Everybody needs what we have. They might not want it, but they need what we have.
Right.
No one has lower case acceptance than a dentist who's desperate for his patient to say yes to a treatment plan. And no one has a greater case acceptance than a dentist who, frankly, couldn't give a damn less. I mean, it doesn't mean we don't care about the person. We don't think that this is the right treatment plan for them, but yeah, it's your mouth, it's your wallet. You want to suffer? I'll be here.
Well, so my very first practice, I bought it because it was 6 miles from home. And it makes it very easy, zipping back and forth, picking up the kids. And it was a mixed HMO, PPO, Denical, whatever. Okay.
You just caused me pain.
Well, but here's my point. I'm presenting the ideal treatment plan.
Every time.
Right?
Because every patient deserves it.
Right. So I don't care if you have Denical. I don't care if you have HMO. I'm just going to talk about the ideal treatment plan, right? And you can pay for it or not pay for it. So a lot of my patients, the high case acceptance, 10K plus and things, they are the HMO patients, right? So I've learned very early that it's not the insurance. The insurance is just what offered to them at their job.
Right.
And of course, they pick the cheap one. That's, that's on them. But for me, I look at a Medi-Cal patient and say, you need an implant and it's $5,000 or whatever, right? And I know, and then my staff would say, well, he has Medi-Cal. He doesn't have money. And I said, no, I know. But I still want to tell him that that's what he needs. That's the best thing for him.
Right.
Right? So I think if we can think like that, and just like you say, you have to dissociate yourself from the patient, right?
Stop treating people as wallets.
Yeah. They hear, you give them whatever, present the best treatment plan, and if they want to take it, they take it. If they don't, they don't. I had a patient one time. She came in, and I would look at the chart, and we diagnosed, and she did one thing, and then she not come back, and then she come back, and then we diagnose again, right? And she does one thing. So this one day, I don't think I must be in a bad mood or something. I came in, I looked at her chart, and I said, are you going to get started today on this treatment? Because if you're not, then I'm just going to skip the exam. And she was not happy. She told the staff, Dr. Letran is so mean. She doesn't want to see me.
Did she start treatment?
she started
I
treatment.
thought she might have.
But my point is, why am I doing an exam again? This is the same exam from 6 months ago, from last year.
So what you did was you forced her into a state of consistency, right?
Right.
She wanted to know what was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Is it consistent with wanting to know what's wrong to not do anything about it? Or does that seem foolish?
Mm-hmm.
So I think what you did there was great because it forced her to own her problem.
Right.
And you cannot sell a solution to a problem no one owns.
Right. But sometimes when we knew, we don't want to upset the patient.
No, absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
I remember there was a guy who came in. Oh, goodness. See, I'm the one I'm doing worse than you are here. I'm beating up on the whole microphone. But I had a patient who came in once, and he wanted wall-to-wall veneers. And I mean, like, I tried to talk him out of it. He wanted them all the way back to his first molar because sometimes he smiled real big.
Mm-hmm.
And he comes in, and he's in overalls and dirty boots. And I just gave him an ideal treatment plan. I said, well, here's your options. You can do this, this, and this. I wouldn't recommend this because this. Here's my recommendation, or we can do this thing. And so he looks at me. It was $75,000 treatment plan. And he looks at me and he says, do I get a cash discount? And I said, absolutely. We've got, I think it was like a 5% cash discount or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I said, but that's not my business. You talk to the girls up front. They make financial arrangements. And once you get the treatment paid for, we'll schedule you and get you in. Get your patients to pay before you schedule them. So can you tell which horses I beat on even though they're dead?
Right.
So he goes up to the front. And my assistant comes back. She says, how did you know he had money?
Mm-hmm.
I said, I didn't. I just told him what he needed to do. She said he pulled out a wallet. I don't know how much was in there, but he counted all $65,000. There was still a bunch left in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, good. So we got him scheduled, right?
Right.
And she couldn't understand. I mean, don't get me wrong. I was excited he was going to get the work done, but it didn't just make my day because that's the work he needed done. And that was the price for the work.
Right.
I think it's really easy to spot a problem there. Like if you are overcharging and you feel that you're overcharging, it doesn't matter how little you're charging. Mm-hmm. It will always come across that you're overcharging.
Right. So that's a money mindset.
Right.
And as a reminder, I want to say, don't forget, sometimes you fix your money mindset, but you didn't fix your staff.
Right.
Right. And it's make it hard for them to sell. And if you, it's all, that's why I keep saying it has to be in alignment.
Right.
If you think that this work fairly should be X dollar, then tell them and don't feel bad about it. Right? But if you think that you actually overcharging, because sometimes you may, right?
And don't let another dentist tell you overcharge.
Yeah.
They don't know what happens in your office.
I'll tell you, this is why I like Dr. Farhan. He goes, okay, so if you're in California, I think it was a California example, and this is years ago when he was still speaking. He said, you charge $1,000 for the crown, and the dentist in Beverly Hills charged $2,000. Do you think his work is twice as good as yours? It's really not possible.
Right.
Right? A prep is a prep.
Oh, but his cost of living is higher.
A lab is a lab, right?
Right.
So you charge what you think is worth. Right? And because even where I am, somebody would come in with a quote from somebody else, and somebody else is charging more, right? So next thing I go, I guess we're charging too low. We should raise our fee. The mindset there is, you know what? Somebody else is charging higher and is accepted, so I'm going to go ahead and raise my fee, right? As far as the work is concerned, I'm doing the same work. I may be using different labs. Patient may be very picky. I may need a custom shade. Somebody's going to go in and stain and things like that, and you figure all that in. But the hardest thing to do is to convince yourself that you believe in yourself. And from what I've learned is people see through. So you could be up here talking about business, and people can see through that, she doesn't really believe in herself, right?
Well, what helped me, I think, so I was the youngest manager in the history of a store called Service Merchandise. I'm sure you remember it, but our younger viewers won't. I worked in the self-service department, which is kind of interesting because basically it was the only place in the store that had stuff on the shelves. Everything else was catalog. But jewelry was in our department. And so I learned very quickly that jewelry carries a tri-key to a quint markup, either 3 to 5 times profit margin. And so when I became a dentist, it was a real easy mental flip for me to say, my crown will keep you eating, and my crown will keep you out of pain. And that bracelet isn't doing any of that. It just makes you feel good about yourself. But guess what? My crown's going to be really pretty too, so it's going to make you feel good about yourself too. It was a real easy bit of mental gymnastics for me to say, hey, look, what I do has worth and value regardless of what another dentist thinks or regardless of what a patient thinks. When they need what I have enough that they'll pay the price that I have set, then they need it enough to get it. You know?
Well, and that's exactly my point. You have that easy flip because you have the experience from another industry.
Because I was old when I became a dentist.
No, but I mean, but you know what I'm saying? Because you're already in that high value kind of industry, and there's a profit margin and all of that. So you already have the perspective. And that's what I'm saying is a lot of us, especially the young ones, they need to have that perspective.
They do.
Right? And yes, as you work and you observe, you will get that perspective. Or you get a coach or a mentor like beat it onto you like, no, this is actually how you should look at it, right? Because the help of somebody who just help you see things differently is invaluable. Because we will always see things the way we always see things. Unless we read something new, we watch something new.
And you should be.
Yeah.
Constantly.
Right.
So one of the things that I teach dentists, and I want to get into some of the things you teach, but one of the things I teach them is if you are unsure about your prices, there's 2 roads you should take. The first one is you should establish your COGS, cost of goods sold. If you don't know how much it costs you to do something, how the hell do you know how to price it? The next thing you need to know is what profit margin, what net profit you want to make on your business. And if you set that at 20%, well, you get your cost of goods sold, and you add 20%, or you add what it takes to have that price give you a 20% profit margin. It amazes me how many dentists don't even know what cost of goods sold is and have never done those calculations. But we've got this whole list of codes with prices associated with them. It's like we're just the blind leading the blind. Well, I know that down the street they charge this, or, my buddy over there in a different city and state charges this. It's nonsensical. It's just not a good way to run a business.
Yeah, and what you said is basic business.
I know.
Yeah, it's just very basic business that unfortunately, school didn't have time to teach us, but at the same time, it's very easy to pick up a book and learn those things.
I agree.
Right? And then, of course, you have to go and put it over here and apply it to whatever you're doing. I find it's very weird, something that we're really passionate about, like an implant or whatever, and we just take classes and we buy all this, and then this is what makes the money, and we're not paying attention to it. So I think going back to Dr. Farhan, just being very practical. Right? I still remember his advice. He said, why is it all the kids who graduate from, let's say, Arizona University, everybody want to be in Phoenix, right? And he would tell them, you're not a tree.
Right.
You can move.
And if you were, you could be transplanted.
You're right. So have that courage to make those changes and have the, what is that word? Like, if you want to be diligent, well, apply the same diligence to the other topics that matter the most to your business and take the time to learn. Be that student.
So I think this is a great place for one of the questions I wanted to ask you. Talk to me about the mindset changes that the average dentist needs to make to move from surviving to thriving.
Well, the very first thing is asking yourself, why are you surviving? Exactly what you just said with those KPIs. Maybe you didn't charge enough, right? Are you constantly engaged in things that help grow your business, like asking for referrals, right? Maybe you're going to go to those Chamber of Commerce meetings, or maybe your staff are going to go. So you're in front of people so people can see you. So before somebody say, you know, I'm stressing out and I'm, all of this is going on, first you have to ask yourself, why is it that you're in that position? And then when you want to thrive, I think your mindset needs to be different, right? Like when we said needing to have a goal, right? So if you say,
And goals are not dreams.
yeah, and goals are not dreams. So for example, if you say, I want to increase 20% each year, you got to work backward. Say, how do I get that 20%? Is it I'm going to work more hours? When I did that exercise where we want to do 5X, at some point it's like, you need 3 more chairs. Well, I don't want 3 more chairs. Then I need to figure out a different way.
Yeah, you need to produce more per hour.
Yeah, to get, to get to the 5X. So do the math, I guess would be the easiest. Take out the emotion. Right? Just do the math. If I'm seeing this many patients a month and I make so much money per patient, if I want to get that, then I need to see more patients. Do I want to see all the patients? Maybe not. I need to add an associate.
Am I willing to take a pay cut to bring the associate up to where they're eating? Yeah, there's
right.
a lot
So
of
if I
questions
bring in
there.
the associate, well, how productive does the associate have to be? Right? At the beginning, the associate is just going to pay for her own salary. But
Hopefully.
when's the fastest way to just, start cranking up the number, so then you would reap that reward when the associate become more productive. So I think when you want to thrive, when we talked way earlier, we're talking about letting go, right? We're talking about adding more people to our team, whether it's the associate or the specialist. So you cannot be that control freak, right? And you do everything, and everything has to go through you. You're thriving when you actually give up some of that control, and you have a different mindset, and you make sure that your staff have the same mindset.
Let's talk a little bit about strategy there, because I think mindset is great and super important, but honest self-assessment is something that a lot of us are not capable of. I don't know why, but we have a hard time dissecting ourselves and saying, okay, this is who I really am. We have a really hard time with our practices because it's our baby. It's what we built. So one of the rules of thumb, and I want you to, we'll go back and forth and trade a couple of them here. Just give people some just hot potato items, things they can use. If you have a practice and it is not producing gross production of $500,000 per chair, you do not need an associate. You need to raise your case acceptance or your fees or drop your network participation. What are your thoughts on that? Anything you disagree with there? And if not, what's your first tip?
Well, I think the 500K, it might be dependent on the area, right? But
it should be more in some areas. That's for sure.
Right. It could be more, it could be less. But the main thing is when you say we are not very good in self-assessment, is that courage part, right? We don't want to say we suck. Right? So look at, like you say, look at how productive you are, right? Look at, are you diagnosing everything? You have these new second opinion AI thing, right? How many things do you miss?
How many things are you in the habit of not telling people so you don't look for anymore?
Right, especially, and the very common thing with dentists is, I don't do wisdom teeth extraction, so I'm not going to diagnose that. Right?
Really?
The other way is, you don't do wisdom teeth extraction, bring in an oral surgeon, right? Or even you don't do wisdom teeth extraction, refer them out. But you have to diagnose it, and not getting into the habit I don't do this, so I'm not going to diagnose it, right? I don't do braces. I don't do ortho, so I'm not going to diagnose ortho. Well, the patient does need ortho. I think you still have to diagnose the ortho.
I agree.
Right? So, but get into where you will always diagnose comprehensive treatment, that you don't treat the wallet.
And in the
you
correct
say,
order.
right? And when you look at your chair, that's why a lot of time there's a question, oh, I want to take the next door suite because it's open up. And I'm thinking, and the reason for it
Right.
is why? Have you maxed these 4 chairs?
Maximize your physical plant.
Yeah. Have you maxed the 4 chairs? Like, if you work 4 days, can you work 5 days? You work 6 days? You work 7. You work 7 days doesn't mean you're working. You put somebody else in there. So maximize what you have first. I think it's very, I mean, we're not talking about DSO, but in general, most dentists do not need a lot of chairs. What
Right.
the problem is, they're not maximizing the chair number.
I completely agree. I mean, most of us work 4 days a week. So that's
Yeah,
a
3
whole
more
3
days in a
days a week that you could be working.
Yeah.
So I feel very strongly that that's the case. I think a lot of us try to solve for that problem with increasing advertising. And unless you know what percentage of your calls are being answered, the last thing in the world you should be doing is spending money on advertising.
Right.
Because so much of it just falls right through the cracks if you don't have good systems in place. But what you get into there is really a passion of mine, is overhead. You know, so many dentists think they can overhead themselves into a fortune, but they're wrong. Because your fixed overhead is pretty much non-negotiable. And frankly, your fixed overhead, which everyone frets about, oh, my utility bills are high, oh, my rent's so high. Who the hell cares? Your fixed overhead goes down as you produce more.
Right.
I mean, automatically.
Right.
You got your stepwise overhead. You've got your variable overhead, stepwise overhead, basically things like you can't do a filling unless you've got composite in the office, which means there's an initial expense. And then as you do more composites, there's an increased expense. Pretty much any new technology we have is going to be stepwise at first. And then there's your straight variable, you know. You don't use barriers on the chair. You don't have to buy more barriers. Use barriers on your chair. That is not a recommendation. But I think we pay too little attention to the big things because, you know, for me, okay, basic equation of practice management. Number of patients in your chair, the average value of each patient's transaction times the percent you collect minus your overhead is equal to net profit. And every other KPI in the entire world serves those 4 masters.
Right.
So we tend to follow a whole lot of things like, oh, how many new patients did you get? I don't care. What did I produce? Because that's the number you're trying to increase.
Right.
If that's not working, your production's not working, you need to look into it and say, okay, what does this break down into? Could be not enough patients. Could be not enough case acceptance. You know, the not enough patients could be broken further down into we don't have enough referrals, we're not answering our phone calls. But until you understand where each one of those KPI, what master it serves in this master equation, all you're doing is mental masturbation. You're keeping a whole bunch of numbers. I have such a foul mouth, Emily, and you're so sweet. And
No, that's
polite.
okay. That's okay.
So, but the truth is it's all for naught. There's no profit in doing that. All you're doing is causing yourself stress. So, if you had to give someone that's my personal equation. I tell people, if you had to give someone just a short, sweet, this equation is how you manage business, or these 3 principles are how you manage your business. And I'll give you some time to think about it if you don't already have one. I had that one ready. So what would that be?
3 principles to be
3
successful?
principles, 5 principles. If you had to give someone just a recipe, and we all know, I don't know about you, I like to change my recipes around. I might add a little more salt, a little more garlic, maybe a lot more garlic. But the recipe, though, gives you a baseline that's repeatable, testable, and improvable. And it'll keep you from burning the biscuits if you follow it.
Right. Well, I may be a little different from you, right? So one of them would have to be to keep an eye on the new patients and increase the number of new patients, and you can do that profitably by not doing a lot of external marketing. If you already have a patient base, you can do a lot of internal marketing. It could be reactivation, right? A patient, and then they bring in other, their friends and family. So I number of new patients is very important for me. The second one, we already talked about it, is treatment planning, right? Like you said, if they haven't learned to expand their skill set from dental school, they doing the patient
A disservice.
a disservice, right? So, and like I said, you may not do implants, but you would still need to tell the patient about it, because at some point you're gonna get pissed off and say, "I need to bring in a neurosurgeon because I don't want to refer that implant now anymore."
Right.
Right, and it could be a driver part for you. Always do that comprehensive treatment plan, regardless of patient background, insurance, or whatever. And the third one, I think, if you want to be successful, is to take care of your staff. I think it's really, really critical to a lot of dentists say, okay, my staff are like my family, right? Because
they give a lot of lip service to that, but how much actual practice behind it?
Right. So for me, okay, if they're my family, are they looking at the overhead? There's no patient, and there are 4 of them. I don't know doing what. Is everybody doing recall?
Mm-hmm.
Right. One of my first jobs, I had an assistant who speak mostly Spanish, and in downtime, I told her, "I'm going to teach you how to do billing."
Mm-hmm.
She said, "Well, I don't speak a lot of English." I said, no, you can read, because the first line is always the work, right? 29 DO, crown number 30. That part you know. Then you look at this thing, and there's a code. So you put the code, the code is a number, and then you put the crown. I mean, she didn't really speak English. She was doing billing.
I just had the funniest thought. You could have looked at her and said, "Don't worry, look, the code's in Spanish."
Yeah, well, this is years ago. I don't think
it would have worked, right?
Yeah,
it
yeah,
is.
yeah.
It's the same thing.
But my point is, a lot of people is like, well, but my staff doesn't want to do that because she's an assistant. She's not supposed to do that. Well, to be honest with you, that's the only time I give people a raise is if they learn a new skill.
I agree.
Right? Yes, when they first come in, I'm going to pay them whatever that is fair.
Oh,
right?
and a new skill that brings profit to the office.
Right. So, like if they're a dental assistant, they will need to learn ortho for them to get a raise.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And like I said, like my one staff, it was just so funny because she told me, I don't speak a lot of English. No, you don't need to learn English. This you can read this name, address, just translate it over. So to take care of your staff and to help them maximize their potential. Because all of a sudden they feel better because they know they can do more. They're not just coming in to suction,
right.
or mix stuff. You actually give them the opportunity to do more, to learn more. One of my staff, she actually just texted me 2 days ago that her mom passed away. But several years ago, she texted me and she told me she bought a house. And she told me even before she told her mom. And this one dental assistant, I met her when I was an associate somewhere else. And we just clicked. I used to do a lot of pedo. And I would say, "You come in and help me." And she would say, "Why don't you get somebody else?" And I go, "Because you're fast. Pedo, I need you to be fast." And so we become friends, and then she come work for me. And then when she wanted to do only ortho, that's when she move on. But you keep that relationship because the staff know you build their career, right? Now, sometimes they're going to move on, which is okay. So when you have that growth mindset, it's not just your business, it's also your staff, it's also your associate. And I think if you do that, you're gonna realize the success faster than somebody who's like, okay, I'm the only one who know the numbers, or the manager is the only one who know this, and you don't share the success.
It sounds like we have a very similar philosophy. My team knew every single number backward and forward, because how could I expect them to help me to get to the numbers I wanted unless they knew where the numbers came from?
Exactly.
Yeah. It's definitely a team sport.
Yes.
So you often emphasize productivity and efficiency, and I wholeheartedly agree. What are the daily habits that keep you high performing?
Well, for me, it's having faith. So prayer, right? Because sometimes you're not going to have all the strength that you need.
Right.
So you need help. This works especially well during the lawsuit. Okay. So praying, having faith. The second thing is just reflection, moment of reflection, where if you encounter a challenge, right, whether it's a new staff, it's a new associate, an angry patient, you just pause and you think, I've done this before. I had a difficult patient before. I had this challenge before, and I overcame it. And so you give yourself that confidence that you can tackle this new one, because the high performance person is really the mindset and the habit, right? So if you always give yourself that self-reflection and thinking of what you've done before, you almost will never say, I can't do this. Because if you look back enough, you will see that you've done it already. This is just...
It's a different flavor.
Just a different it looks like a different circumstance, but the same thing. And third, I would say to have gratitude. A high performer...
I think that's huge.
Yeah, a high performer knows that it's not just him or her. It takes the whole team. It takes the patients coming in. It takes the community supporting you, right? You can't have a dental office and nobody comes. Right?
I agree.
But you have to have that gratitude, because when you do, you treat people differently, right? You're not the hotshot dentist or whatever, which some doctors are like that. Some MDs are like that, right? I don't need to compare with them. I do know people in the community know me. My patients know me. Actually, some of the patients don't know me. I walk in and they go, "Who are you?" I think that's the best compliment, because I haven't been in there. But the staff know you, and the office thrive. So I think those are some of the things to have that high-performance mindset.
So we talked a little bit earlier about educating your team on what the numbers are and the importance of that. Let's talk a little bit about the role of delegation whenever it comes to creating true freedom for the dentist.
It's a must. I think when you're talking about freedom, everybody have a little different definition. But for me, the freedom means I can do whatever I want, and that could be, I'm going to go to Houston and do a film screening for 2 days, and the office would still run, right? Or I want to invest in whatever this piece of equipment, and I know the office could afford that because we're running it profitably. So, but all of that take the delegation, because you can only grow so much, and everybody know, right? So if you're a solo dentist, and let's just say you do 1.5, just for example, if you want to get to 4, there's very likely you have to have somebody in there with you, right?
Agreed.
Or you're a super GP. I mean, it's when you get to that sort of max level and you want to do more, you need more people. You need to enlist more people, and you need to give people more freedom to do things, right? And then when they give you feedback, you actually listen to it. I'm one of those people that I listen to my staff, right? If they say, Dr. So-and-so hurt the patient, well, you go tell Dr. So-and-so not to hurt the patient. You tell him first, and then I will tell him after. So you give them that authority to deal with the situation when you're not there. And I think delegation, because delegation goes beyond, here, you just do this. It's the delegating of the responsibility, is the delegating of the decision, right? And they represent your value when you're not there.
I love that answer. So I had this dental assistant named Savannah. She was my head assistant. And I have this story. There was this guy, whenever I was in dental school, he was my mentee. He was a year under me. But he was 2 years away from completing a residency as an MD. And he quit and came back to dental school. So I think he was 2 years into a 4-year residency. And I'm teaching him how to wax up a tooth. And he says, "Hey, stop. it looks great. And I said, yeah, but I want it to be perfect so you can see what it looks like, what it's supposed to look like. And he said, one of my residents told me something one time, and I really carried it with me. The enemy of good is better.
Mm-hmm.
And so I told that story to all of my team, because that was kind of my philosophy, is that we can get tunnel vision, and it's your job and your responsibility to call us back when we're getting tunnel vision. And so the guy's name was Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
And so the code word around my office that Savannah came up with was, hey, Doc, were you thinking about going to Dallas this weekend? So I knew you've done a good enough job. You're getting neurotic.
Mm-hmm.
Back away slowly before you screw something up. But they loved that so much,
Right.
being able to tell the doctor, hey, not only you're running this late, but you're going to screw that up if you keep going at it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think that's I've talked to a lot of dentists, and I think that's a common trait with us, is that, but if I could just do that one little tertiary groove, it'd be perfect. And then you mess the whole thing up.
Right. Well, the other thing is good enough is good enough.
Yep.
Right. And nobody's going to criticize you if the occlusion doesn't look perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I think it helps when you have kids because the kids are not going to be all perfect up to your standard.
Mm-hmm.
It's a whole journey. Right. So I think you get a little less idealistic because you want everybody to be in the car at this time. And sure enough, you're running late because this little one is
happening.
It's right. So you develop that different perspective. Now, on the flip side of that also means that you don't hold your, perfection expectation with everybody, because there's going to be somebody who may not be able to match what you expect. Then you have to ask yourself: is this good enough for this office, or this should not be somebody on your team?
80% rule.
Yeah. But see what happened is then we get stressed out. Well, this person I've been taking her to classes and this and this and this, and she's still not there. And it's much easier to say, okay, so do you want her there? Do you need her there? Can you make that decision based on that? It has nothing to do with her. It's just how you see her fitting in your office. And if you can come up with that decision fast enough, and if you can have the courage to have that conversation with her, you'll be much happier.
So what you said there, I think, is something that's becoming more common now, or I hope it is, because I've seen more of it, is dentists bringing their teams to continuing education. Mm-hmm. If you don't bring your teams to the same education you're attending, you're never going to implement, or it's going to be a very uphill battle. The best education I ever brought them to was actually a financial planning webinar, or not webinar, financial planning seminar, where we went in and they learned tax law, and they learned different mechanisms of saving money, 401ks versus trust versus taking a HELOC out on your home, and how to juggle that money and make more money than you actually had.
Right.
I think after I took them to that, I noticed that they treated all the clinical stuff I took them to much more seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything like that you would suggest dentists get out of that mold, and or something you've experienced with your own team where you took them to a CE where that wasn't what they expected, and they returned with gratitude, or it seemed to make a change in their life?
Oh yeah. I would say 90% of the time they come with me.
Mm-hmm.
And for example, we used to go to TBSE, the best seminar ever by the Mato brothers. I remember Dr. Malmacher back then talk about, doing free dentistry day. What is it called? I'm blanking out. Something hard. But anyway, he's up there and he's done talking, and all the staff turn over to me and say, when are we signing up? Right? That's the kind of thing that you want the staff to feel, right? Dentistry from the heart. That's what he used to call it. You want the staff to feel like that. If somebody is up there talking about overhead, and all this time you tell them, only squeeze one trough about whatever that bonding agent is, and they don't really get it, and then they hear this overhead thing, you know. Now they're going to get it, right? But at the same time, like you said, sharing the numbers so they understand, you know. Sometimes I tell them, okay, you go order, right? You write the order, but you look it up. So occasionally, not all, they don't need to do it all the time, but now they can see, oh, this little bottle is $300, right? It gave a different perspective for the staff. And I think same thing with your kids. My kids have gone to a lot of business conferences, right? And they go when they were young, and it's, you know, things do get into their head, right? One of my favorite is my son. He said he wanted to order this book from Japan, right? And it's some kind of anime book. And this is when he's in elementary school, and he said, do you want to pay standard shipping, or do you want the upsell of whatever? And you're gonna get it, or you're gonna get it in 3 days or something like that.
I love it.
And I never taught him that, but of course he's in the seminar and he's listening, right? And so I think education is very important. And I think if you have the opportunity to go and educate yourself, you should bring your team with you. And your team is your staff, your associate doctors, you know, your children. The more the people know, the better decision they make. And when you ask of them to do something, they understand why, right? It's not all about money. It could be, no, we went to the seminar and they talked about efficiency. So yes, I want you to clean the room in 5 minutes, not 15, you know?
Right.
And it's just basic efficiency. We just talk about it.
Boy, there's so much to unpack there. We'll leave that one alone, though. Efficiency is a huge bone of contention with me in most dental practices. But we're going to move on. So how do you help dentists discover what they really want whenever you are coaching them, beyond just making more money? How do you help them to discover what it is they really desire, what will really complete them?
You know, we talk a lot about clarity. So a lot of time, the beginning conversation, somebody may say, I need more new patients, or I need to deal with this difficult staff, right? And we'll start with, okay, with this staff, you can do this, you can say this, but ultimately, what is it that you want, right? What I help them to do is to decide what is it that they actually want. If they say they want more time off, it could ultimately mean they want more freedom, which is beyond having time off, right? It could be, you know, I want the freedom, like you said earlier, to travel. So more time off there would be with your family, or is it just more time off with your office? So we call it digging, right? We ask questions so the person eventually get to, okay, actually that's what I want, right? And then from there, we look at how the doctor is operating. Is it serving? Are we getting close to that? Or the way you're working, there's no way in hell it's going to happen.
Right.
Right. And then we have to make a decision. So is it what you really want, or are you okay here? Right. This is where you see people, you talk to them, and 3 years later you talk to them, and they're in the same space. Right. Because they never change. They never make certain things a priority. So then they're gonna change the way they work. I had a client, very successful, and I still remember one of the things she told me was she wants more time for herself, right? And she told me she always pick up her kid. So she finished at 4, and then I guess she's doing something in the office. And then she would go pick up her kid, and she said she's the last one to be picked up. So I told her, okay, tomorrow, I just want you to promise me something. When you finish at 4, just leave, right?
Because they'll suck you in.
If the office burned down, let me know. But at 4 o'clock, you leave, and you go pick up your son. So then she texted me a picture of her son sitting in the back of the car, right? At around 5 or whatever. And she said he was shocked that he was the first one to be picked up. And so if you think about that, she's the boss. She makes the decision. She can leave early. She can leave whenever she wants. But because we choose to stay and be married to the office, and then we say we are stressed, right? So a lot of time is to be very clear. You say you want more time for yourself, for your family. You just got to leave at 4:00, right? But you need to stick to that, and you need to let the staff know. No, at 4:00 I leave. So I developed this very well just because I used to run around picking up my kids.
Mm-hmm.
So at 2:00, like I come in at 9 and I don't watch the clock until 1. Because at 1:00 I'm looking at the schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Can I get out at 2? Right? And then whatever it is, wrap it up 2:00, I gotta leave. So for years, you're leaving at 2:00 to go pick up your kids. And then you're coming back at 4, and then you're leaving at 6. So give yourself a reason to prioritize things
Mm-hmm.
and stick to it. But you need to stick to it because it means something to you, right? Like I don't need to prove to anyone that I need to leave at 2, right? Now when I'm talking to people and they say I'm so busy and this and that, I go, I don't know. I had 3 offices and I drop kids off and I pick kids up and I go home and I make dinner.
It's about priorities.
I don't know what your problem is. no, I don't say that, but in the back of my head, you can do more if you want and if you choose. So the clarity piece is very important.
So in my esteem, in my opinion, you are very different from the average dentist. And here's why. You have chosen in this next chapter of your life to embrace asking hard questions and having hard conversations with people.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is what good coaching is.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you feel differentiates the way that you coach dentists from perhaps other people who are in the field?
Well, I think, for one thing, from the training that I have, right, it's science-based. We know if we ask somebody a certain question and we force them to make a decision or go through the process to think about it, that they're going to retain that better because they're the one that figure it out. Rather than if I just give you, here the answer, do this. Next time you may not remember, but if you remember, if I have you go through that, you remember, oh, this is what I did. I had to go check this, et cetera, et cetera. So it's very much psychology-based, right?
Mm-hmm.
Science-based. I'm a very direct person. I know a lot of nice coaches,
Is nice a euphemism for useless?
Well, it depends. We have this thing in high-performance coaching. We say, do you want to pay me so I can be nice to you, or you want to pay me so I can push you?
Right.
So you just have to pick, right? And so for me, it's all about, going for the result. If you say, I want a 2X or 3X or whatever, or I want to have 2 offices or whatever, I can get you there. But I'm going to be very direct. I'm going to tell you, you think that's smart to do that? Like, you think it's smart to let go of that person and she's been with you for 20 years? I mean, unless it's embezzlement or whatever.
I was going to say, well, she's embezzling. It's
yeah,
really
yeah,
smart.
unless it's something like that. But usually people stay with you and they support you for a reason, right? Like all those people.
Well, one of those reasons is embezzlement. Because they found out you're easy to embezzle from.
Right. But you know what I mean.
Right.
So I think I'm very straightforward, right? I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you what I see, okay? And I want to say that I will guarantee the results. Like, you will get to what you want if you work with me, if you're actually going to do the work.
It's always the golden caveat, isn't it?
Yeah, you have to do the work. If we say, I think you should fire that person because you gave me all the reasons why she should be fired.
You already knew.
Yeah, but you have to go and fire that person and have the courage to do that. Then I think you're going to be better rather than walking around eggshell every day and telling me that this person is a diva or whatever. But honestly, I think I'm different because I focus on personal growth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's a lot of books out there. There's a lot of manuals. There's a lot of training that you can all learn how to get more new patients, how to do whatever. But how come you're not getting that? How come you're not doing it? So I feel that gap of personal growth, of developing the person.
I love it. So a lot of people confuse the concepts of comfort and freedom.
Mm-hmm.
They're almost exactly polar opposites. How do you get dentists out of their comfort zone to help them move toward freedom?
I think one of the things to get people out of the comfort zone is to get them to be more ambitious. Because usually ambition is going to the next step, going to the next level, and it's usually something that you haven't done. And if you want to do that, you will have to get out of your comfort zone. Perfect example, grow your team, right? Put in an associate. I mean, there are doctors that just like fight me tooth and nail. An associate doesn't work, Then I have to, instead of babysitting my staff, now I have to babysit the associate, and et cetera, et cetera. They go on and on and on without knowing all the reasons that we just talked about.
Mm-hmm.
How do you empower that associate? How do you give that associate the training? How do you get that associate to be your clone? I mean, not exactly your clone, but
Right, but
they
duplicating
can do
yourself, it's super
80% of
important.
80% of whatever you do. So raising the ambition, I think, is very important. But at the same time, some people are not ambitious. Like they don't care for that. I had a dentist one time. I coached her for a couple months, and whatever we talk about, recommend doing, she didn't do. So after I think the third month, we got on the phone, and I say, "What pay the bills?" And she said, "What do you mean?" I said, No, what pay the bills? We're talking about your offices, challenges. You don't do whatever we discuss. So what pay the bills? Real estate. So I said, okay, I don't think we're a good fit,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because you don't need to grow the office. You got the real estate to pay the bills.
Right.
And if you want to run this as, I don't know, as an expensive hobby, it's up to you. But I don't want to show up every month.
Right, because
or
my
every
time is
week.
worth money.
Yeah, I mean, she's paying me for that, but still, I don't want to just get on the call to talk to you,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because that's not what you're paying me for.
Well, you're not creating value then, because the value is not being realized because they're not implementing.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. If because I have this other person, she's a nurse, and sometimes she say, oh, you know what, I can't get on the call because I'm scheduled to work. The schedule rotate, and I will tell her too. I said, you know what, do you want this day, or do you want to move it to another day?
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't want to miss one call a month, right?
Right.
If our agreement is working together and we're talking to each other every week, I block my time. I get up, to talk to you because she's in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to show up.
If you
and
find
talk to me.
value in this,
Yeah,
arrange your life such that you can have it.
right. But like you said, sometimes it's the comfort zone. It's
Absolutely.
she wrote a book and she's about to launch it, and next week, yep, I'm still working on it. That's their comfort zone. You know that, right? So the next thing is to challenge them with a deadline. Okay, release this by whatever day.
So there's a vast difference of opinion in this area, and I'd love to hear your take on it. Are leaders born, or are they grown?
I think there's a little bit of being, a born leader. Perfect example, Gandhi, right? Mother Teresa. They already have that in them to lead with charisma, right? To lead with empathy. And then you have the trained leaders. That's us.
Mm-hmm.
We got trained. We learn. We take classes to become the boss, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we can lead our office. You're not the boss because you're the one paying the bills. I think you should be the boss because you actually set the example and get people to do what you want them to do, right? So I think the majority of leaders are trained. I think for a leader to be really good, there should be a little bit of that innate quality, of being charismatic or being real passionate. Being passionate a lot of time is what you're born with, right? Like people ask me, well, why do you want to be a coach? I don't know why. Why do you want to be a dentist? And I tell them, first of all, it's a calling, that I feel I need to do this work. The work is hard because I'm getting on the phone and I hear you bitch for an hour or 30 minutes. And sometimes I get off and I'm tired. I talk to Doc and I'm tired. But
it wasn't me, I promise. I didn't do it.
I know that I got him from A to B.
Right.
I know we got some breakthrough, right? And for me, that's what I want. That's what I'm shooting for. So yes, I could be tired talking to you, talking to another person, whatever the clients are, but I know that they got the breakthrough, and that's the reward I'm looking for, is to provide the value of the client. So I think, when people are looking for a coach, right, and they got to first be willing to do the work, and then they need to work with a coach who is honest.
Mm-hmm.
The coach has to be honest with himself or herself, and got to be honest with the client.
Well, the coaches, so here is where I feel the difference is between coaches and consultants. And you did a great job of explaining the difference earlier. A coach is someone that you pay to ensure that you shortly won't need them. Mm-hmm. A consultant is someone that you pay to ensure that you continue to need them.
That's what I tell people. People say, I have a coach for I don't know how many years. And I go, but why? Because that coach should help you grow.
Right.
That coach should help you grow, and then you don't need that coach anymore. Maybe you need another coach for the next level.
Absolutely.
Right?
And
but
identify that level.
Not the same coach, which is why I tell people, no, I am not a life coach, right? I help people from A.
I hate that term so much.
Yeah, I help people go from A to B. Mm-hmm. And when they get to B, if they want to go to C, that's a different program. That's a different way of dealing with it. A consultant, I mean, honestly, and I have nothing against consultant because I'm a coach and consultant, right? If you're going to hire me as a consultant, I'm just going to give you answer.
Right.
Right? But sometimes I give you the answer and you're still not doing it. I'm going to get my coaching, the coach come out, right? And ask you these questions, right? But one of my clients, she just renewed with me. And she go, okay, for the next 12 months, I want you to give me a list of deliverables. And I go, what is your goal? I want XYZ. And I go, okay, I'll help you get there. So where's the list of deliverables?
Yeah, you're going to make
I said, I don't have one.
Yeah.
So within a month, she already got new client that I help her get, and she's already paid for the coaching.
Right.
Right? And I joke with her and I said, okay, I still don't have the list of deliverables, because I'm open. You could have the next level of ambition. Why would I box you in and say that, we're going to do this and this? If you have certain ideas, yes, those are the guidelines. But if there's an opportunity that come and you come and ask me, I'm going to ask you these questions to see, oh, you know what? I think that's a great opportunity. Go for it. Right?
I feel as if you own a problem enough to ask for a solution to the problem, that you own that problem enough to put in the work. So if someone tells you this is how you do it step by step, you just do what they told you. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people out there who just want a done-for-you system, but the problem is that they don't realize that when you have a done-for-you system, it's never truly implemented because it's always a game of catch-up. And when you own the system, you know its workings inside and out. Mm-hmm. If there's an issue with the system, you can spot it and say, okay, we need to change this thing.
Right.
And you're empowered to do that because you came up with the system.
Right.
If you're paying someone for solutions that are just kind of a rubber stamp, one-size-fits-all solution, it's going to work only so long as you continue to monitor and push it working. Because the second that you don't, it's gone. It's getting put on the shelf.
Right. And that's why I think I have another dentist who asked me, so you have a manual?
No, guess what? I'm going to teach you how to write.
I don't have a manual. You know what? Don't you have the manual from the last consultant? Mm-hmm. Let's use that manual, but get it done.
Right.
Right? Because obviously those are the things that you want to do. I will help you get it done or help you get your staff to do it. Because if you ask me, I have certain ways of doing things. Like, for example, I believe all the dentists should own their own building. I believe all the dentists should have their own group practice, right? I started doing this in 1997. So it's not because of their DSO or whatever. I started doing that, many years ago. When I come in and I say, there's so many kids, I don't know braces. I need an orthodontist, right? So I start adding people in. So that's how I would lead people to go to. That would be a great exit strategy if you have a group practice. So you don't have to sell your practice. You can just stay on and make money. But if you say, no, this is me, I'm, like I have a boutique practice, and et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, I understand enough to help you get to that. But again, if you say, and now I want more freedom, I want to take a month off to travel, well, who's going to work the boutique practice?
Yeah, whenever you own a cult of personality, which is what a boutique practice is, you don't have that freedom.
Right. So you can create value in the whole team, and when somebody come in and you introduce them, that the patient trusts you enough, right? Like the patient trusts you, and the patient trusts, the whole team is here. This is just a new doctor, and we very straightforward. This doctor is new. Give it a try. Now, at the end of the appointment, we're going to ask, how did it go? It went fine. Okay, then we're going to book the patient with that doctor, right? And take me out of the equation. So a lot of it, I think the way that I coach, like I said, that's my vision. I think people should have that. If they don't want that, if you want to stay in a professional building and pay $10,000 a month, that's on you. But I think with $10,000 a month, you can buy a building, right? And sometimes people just don't think that. And because I've done it several times, that's the perspective that I bring in. So I think the other difference that I'm talking about is, the other coaches or consultant, have they done what I've done? Because I had a client who was with me for about 2 years. Anything she asked me, I have an answer. She go, I actually don't get it, because she said, I want to buy a building. I said, let me call my friend, and then in California, and we refer her to a broker here in Texas, because of the connections, because of who I know, right? So you're the problem solver, or in my new book, I call it a success catalyst, right? You help people become successful. I think that's the main difference.
So when a dentist says, I'm too busy to work on myself, I'm too busy to do X, Y, Z, what's your response?
It's going to go back to clarity. You're too busy. Are you happy? Are you happier today than last year? Do you think your life is getting better? Well, I told you what I was doing, running around, picking up kids and all that. Most dentists are not that busy. They're busy coming in, producing, I don't know, $10,000 a day.
No. They're busy. They're not productive.
Right. But they're busy in the office. They're not running around. They're not doing this and that. For me, that's busy. Right? Because you have to leave your office physically, and then you have to come back, and then you have to get right back in. So I think if somebody say they're busy, one of my first questions would be, are you happy? Right? No, I'm not happy. Okay, well, why aren't you happy? If they're too busy to work on themselves, I think that's just an illusion, because working on yourself is different than busy. It would be like you say, you should go to the gym, work on yourself. And you say, no, but I'm too busy doing dentistry. Those are two different things, the two different priorities. Do you give yourself 30 minutes or an hour to go to the gym, maybe twice a week, whatever you want to do? I have people who say, I'm too busy. In the morning, I get up, and then I got to have my kids, and then I go to work, and then in the evening, I want to go to the gym, and it's too cold. And I go, do you want to exercise at home?
You know my answer. You saw my gym.
I know, but you don't need to have a gym. Do you want, I don't know, do you want to do jumping jack? I mean, whatever you do.
Solve for the problem.
Right. So those are excuses. So sometimes when people, they say they're too busy, they're not busy. They're just doing stuff. right?
Well, that was my point. Most dentists confuse busy with productive.
Mm-hmm.
You can be busy all day long, wasting your time.
Mm-hmm.
You can be running around in circles and never get anything done. Productive is different.
Yeah, I go to conventions, dental conventions, and I remember one time, because usually when I go to a convention now, I have certain goals. Let's say I want to go meet Doc. He says he's going to be here. I'm going to, I want to go talk to this sponsor or whatever, right? And Fred Joyo saw me. So when I was walking this way, I saw him. I didn't say hi to him because I was making it here from point A to point B. When I came back, he was still at the same booth. So I stopped by and I said hi to him. And he said, I saw you earlier, but you were walking with a purpose. And I said, yeah, that's true. I was trying to catch so-and-so. I know so-and-so going to be there, so I was trying to catch so-and-so. So the word that we use is intention, right? Being very intentional. It's the same idea. And this is where the high performance is if you say, okay, I'm very productive. In the morning from 7 to 10, I'm placing 10 implants or I'm doing surgery. Well, you're telling me that you can't do the same thing in the afternoon?
Mm-hmm.
Because as long as that's the same intention, you should be able to block the 3 hours and you still deliver the same way.
Right.
Right? And people say, no, because in the morning I'm real fresh or whatever. Well, in the morning or in the afternoon, you're supposed to come in fresh to serve the patient. Anyway, so it's the intention that you set for yourself that you're going to show up and you're going to do this work and it's, laboring and all that and it's hard work. Yes, so maybe that's Tuesday. Wednesday could be an easy day, right? So people set the intention, doing big case in the morning, little thing in the afternoon. There's this day that I do surgery. There's this day is my admin day. And then with their life, they set no intention.
Right.
They just go through the day. I had a client one time and she said, I think I'm going to take next Thursday off. And I said, okay, what are you going to do? And she had no answer for me.
Well, doing nothing is an answer if that's truly what she intends to do. But
yeah, but she said, yeah, I haven't thought about it.
Well, then why are you taking the day off?
Well, that's what I'm saying. So what is the intention?
Right. Now, I get it. I get it.
So everything, if you do everything with intention, I think what you're going to find is you have more time because you say, I'm going to do this in this amount of time. You do that with your work. Some dentists are very good at that. And then you look at their life and it's just all over the place. And being a high performer when we're working with people is we want them to be like that the whole time with their life and their work.
So we're getting close to the amount of time I told you we're going to take for this. And I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk a little bit about your upcoming book. And also, if people have read your books and they found them useful and they would like to contact you as a coach, how they can get in touch with you.
Yeah, so I recently published a book called The Dentist Manifesto, and it's the declarations.
I read it.
Yeah, you read it. And it's the declarations that I think a dentist should do. Mm-hmm. For example, you want to declare that you're going to be a great clinician. Well, what does that entail? Taking CE, right? Teaching it to your team, right? Doing your best. Like you don't half-ass one day and do well another day. You don't take care of a patient who pay you more and not really take care of the patient who got a discount, that kind of a thing. Being a great parent, right? Being a great spouse, being a great entrepreneur. Of course, I'm a serial entrepreneur, but I think a lot of us, if we have that in ourselves, we're gonna find life more interesting. You don't just do one thing. A lot of dentists, I forgot who it is that woodwork. Do you remember one of our friends? You?
Me?
No,
Josh
but it was
Brower. There's a couple of them.
Josh, right?
He is a virtuoso. He is so good.
Right, but when he put that on Facebook, you're just like,
wow.
Wow, right? Mm-hmm. So have something else that you like, that your passion, just to make life more colorful. Like you like to do production. You're shooting movie, you have this, I don't know how many square foot, but you have all of these studios set up, right? And you're happy doing that, right? I'm happy coaching, right?
Right.
I come up to the call and I go, okay, take a deep breath, talk to this person. But at the end of the call, I know that I helped that person, right? So I address all of that in that book, and it's a very short read. I recommend people to read it. I have the other book called From Refugee to Success Catalyst, Turning Struggles into Legacy. And it's a little memoir. It's just my story. And
Was that the one that made your daughter cry?
That is the one. It was an old version, so I updated. And like when I wrote the first one in 2014, I was in the middle of the lawsuit, so can't put it in there. Going through that and actually writing that book was hard. Now I can talk a little bit more about it, but with the new perspective, that I'm doing multiple things. So both of them are on Amazon. You can get a digital copy for like 99 cents. And if somebody want to talk to me, go to coachroi.com. There's some questions on there. What are your challenges? And then, we can reach out. We can schedule a call. What I tell people is when we get on a call, I'm going to solve one problem. I mean, I can't solve 10 problems, right? But if you say, okay, this is the burning problem, we'll solve it there. And then I would invite them if they want to continue working with me, right? And we talk about it. For me, I'm not going to send you a manual and say, make sure all your staff read this. Here's a checklist. I mean, who doesn't have those in their office? But how come they still complaining that the staff don't do things, right? Because they never address that mindset. And it's not just you, it's also your staff. So everybody in the team should have that high performance mindset. They should all want to do well. They should all want to be more ambitious, right? I don't really complain when somebody switches job.
Me either. I feel as if I've done my job as a leader when they've outgrown me.
Right. They outgrow you. They should find a new home, right? And then whoever come in. So over the years, I train a lot of associates. I train a lot of staff. And I think the key thing, and this is what a lot of people tell me, is they say they can tell that I'm happy and they can tell that I like what I'm doing, right? And I think that speaks to the authenticity of who I am and what I want people to have. Because I want all of us to be like that. You just speak your mind. You're not afraid of the hygienist. You're not afraid of your office manager. If you don't like that insurance, I know you're a fee for service. You don't like that insurance, have a conversation and drop them. I mean, it is ultimately it's your office, it's your house, it's your rule.
So if I had to take out a billboard that would be placed on every corner in the United States where there's a dental office so that every dentist in the entire United States saw it, my billboard would read, "Stop being held hostage." What would yours read?
It will probably read "No BS."
I like it. Well, I'm going to give you the final word. Is there anything we should end on? Anything I haven't asked you about that I should have? Or any just pearl of wisdom that you want to drop on our viewers?
I think what I hope and wish everybody to do is to be dedicated to growing themselves as a person. We mentioned different things. Read a book, watch a movie, right? Biography are good. Go to a seminar that is not dentistry. You learn enough dentistry, right? Something new come out, yes, go learn that. But in general, learn new things that would enrich your mind and bring your staff and bring your family with you.
That's a long billboard. Well, guys, first of all, Emily, thank you so much for coming out for the interview today. I hope that you had an enjoyable time. I certainly enjoyed talking to you. And guys, I hope you got value out of this. Till next time, this is Doc. I'm out.
And watch me educate. Yeah, we been could've started, but it's never late. Do it for my kids, yeah, let's set it straight. Do it for your kids, gotta set it straight. It's time to regulate. We need change now.